Welcome, everybody, back to another movie reviews. We are talking...
Whiskey reviews.
Gotta start over.
Another cheer.
Welcome back, everybody, to another whiskey reviews.
It's f***ing lit!
All right, third time's a charm. Welcome, everybody, to another whiskey reviews. This is our third take. We're going to see how this goes. We're talking Marvel movies because the Avengers is coming out. We're seeing it Friday.
Yep.
Not going opening night. I actually have volleyball that night, so I can't.
Oh, you didn't buy opening night tickets?
Nope, it's
You
Friday
didn't tell me
night.
that. Friday night. That's actually good, though, because I don't work on Saturday. So
Exactly. And
Yeah,
Friday
there
will
you
be slightly less busy, I think, than opening night,
Yep.
which is fine. It's still going to be packed, and it'll be awesome. So
Cool.
we are going to talk about all the Avengers movies, or all the Marvel movies, I should say. Starting with Phase 1, then we'll go to Phase 2, then Phase 3, and just kind of work our way in and the best ones and the worst ones, and kind of just talk about them all as we go along.
Cool.
Yes.
Phase 1,
Mhm.
2, and 3. Can you, like, outline? Because in my head...
All right, yeah. So
know,
Phase
yeah.
1 is Iron Man 1,
Mhm.
Iron Man 2, Captain America, the Hulk movie, and... Oh, I can't remember. And then the Avengers, I think. I think that's it.
Okay.
I don't think there's another one in the first wave
Not Thor?
phase. Oh, and
Well,
the,
there has to
the
be
first
some
Thor movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to say, because
And then Phase 2 was... Actually, the second Thor movie might be in Phase 1 as well.
Do you want to look it up?
We really should
We
pull it
probably
up
should
on our
look it up.
phone.
Yeah.
But let's just go ahead and start talking about the first couple movies that were released, which
Yeah.
is Iron Man.
Well, that's what started the whole thing, right?
Yeah, so you just rewatched it, right? The other day?
I did. I watched
So what are your
the
thoughts?
first one probably about a week and a half ago. No, the second one. But I've seen the first
Okay.
one recently too. I think, out of all the early Marvel movies, the Iron Man ones were the only ones I liked.
I agree.
And I think so. The first one was actually well written, and which makes sense because it's the first like Marvel movie, right? That kind of came out. So that one was well written. His character development was good. The development of the villain was good, and it made sense. It was all cause and effect. It was something that he started.
Yeah.
There was a lot of powerful motifs about war and fighting for your country, but also the flip side of that, where his weapons are being used by the people. So there's all these
Right.
interesting things that are happening in the first one, and they took some risks that weren't that risky in terms of normal movies, but in comparison with the rest of the Marvel universe, at least at that stage,
Sure.
were pretty sizable. I mean, you think about like the Thor movies and some of the Captain Americas, and the plot is there, like it has the skeletons of a typical superhero movie. Everything's at stake plot, but there's not usually a moment in those movies where I'm afraid that they're going to fail. Whereas with Iron Man, they've always done a decent job of being like, oh, how's he going to adapt to this?
Yeah, and that first one, his big struggle in that is, do I get rid of my company? Or do I, which is like huge, obviously, or do I continue to do what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And that's his big struggle, which a lot of them, you can find little struggles, but his are very obvious, and I like that about
Yeah.
them. And that movie also came out the same year as The Dark Knight, which is
Yeah.
crazy because that was two of the greatest superhero movies ever in the same year. So that
Yeah.
was pretty cool. So here's Phase 1, just so we can get back on it. Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, and then the first Avengers movie. That's Phase 1. And
Okay.
so out of that list, I think Iron Man, I think it's solid. I still think it's top 3 probably for all of the
time.
Marvel movies.
I would agree.
I think it's a little cheesy at the end with him fighting Obadiah, but him fighting another version of himself, which is a big problem now with Marvel movies, that was the first time, so it wasn't a problem at that point.
Yeah, it was the first time, and it said a lot about Tony Stark's inner struggle, which is the best part of his character, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, his struggle with that whole first movie was, like you said, the moral dilemma of what his company's gotten involved with. But before that, he didn't really care. He was just a playboy millionaire genius. And now he actually is seeing the effects that his own indulgence and pride has had on the world, right? And that's starting to make him think. So for him to have to face himself in that movie is actually pretty genius. Now,
Yeah.
the only thing is he almost has to do it again in the second movie.
I know.
And so that's where, when I first saw the second Iron Man, I was like, it's the same as the first one, except now it's a Russian guy that used to work with your dad. So like the plot makes sense, but again, the whole like inner struggle thing, it's like, okay, well, we already went through that as the main motif of the whole movie. I would have liked something a little different, but that
Agreed.
being said, I still think I really liked the second. I liked the second one definitely a lot better than the third.
Oh yeah, by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is actually completely pointless in the
Yeah,
in the
you could
universe.
just remove it and
The
it'd be
cinematic
fine.
universe, it kind of ruined things, so they kind of just like forgot about it. I think what
Yeah.
they're gonna do with Star Wars Episode 8, they're just gonna be like, "Oh, you did this?
I was wondering.
Sorry."
I was like, how many minutes in is Star Wars going to come up, specifically
Yep.
Episode 8? It's like not even 2 minutes in.
Yeah, like 5 minutes. So Iron Man is the first one. I think it's a great movie and everything. The second one was The Incredible Hulk. We're just gonna. It's a terrible movie.
I don't even
It's
think
the
I've
Edward
seen
Norton
that.
one. It's fine. I mean,
What year was this? This is like,
that was 2008, the same year.
oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
It's been 11 years of Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm. And then Iron Man 2 was the next one that got released.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that a little bit, but I think my biggest issue with Iron Man 2 was the amount of villains that they brought in. I don't like it when they do this.
Yeah, because
They
you
need to
had
keep
you had
it-
the Russian guy.
If you had just the Russian guy or just
Hammer.
Hammer, I think it would have worked. But you had both of them, and then you had like, there was something else going on in that movie
Oh.
too, and I can't remember, but
well,
just
the
like,
other thing was him dying,
that was it. Right.
which I like that.
Sure.
That was
But
the best part of that movie.
And just the Russian guy, or that and just Hammer. And I think Hammer was the better villain, because the Russian guy didn't make
Yes.
sense. He was just like, why is this the bad guy? Like, they just like pulled him out of nowhere. Whereas Hammer makes sense because he's another arms dealer.
He's a competitor.
And so he's taking advantage of Stark's weakness.
Well, and then it would have taken the internal conflict of him trying to beat his own taking time bomb, and then the other conflict of the first movie of him in the arms business, you know, internally as a U.S. arms dealer. So then, yeah, I think so too. But I think they just added the Russian thing because the hype and stigma, like, oh, it's a Russian guy, he's
yeah,
gotta
and,
be bad.
and
you know?
the whips, and they wanted to do new things like that, but they
Yeah.
could have just gotten rid of him, given more time to Hammer, who's a better actor too. I mean, I love, well, okay, Mickey Rourke's a great actor, but
Yeah.
the character of Hammer, I think, was better and everything. It was a little over the top in parts, but they could have shaped that, and he could have been a really cool villain. That would
He
have been
almost
very.
was Tony Stark, actually, that actor.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
He was. He would have been.
So
Very
that
good.
was really interesting
Yeah.
too. If you knew that fact and you're watching
Sure.
it, and it's like he almost actually was the actor that played Tony Stark, and in the universe he wants to be Tony Stark too. So there's a lot of
Right.
really cool
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
things. Yeah.
Then we got Thor, and I think the first Thor movie is fine. When I first saw it, I
hate it.
enjoyed it because it was,
Really?
Asgard and everything. I watched it again probably a couple months ago, and I was like, really? That's it? Okay. So,
Yeah.
but again, we need to think this is back in 2011. This is before we've gotten any major superhero movies. We don't really know what they are yet. We have the Batman ones, but those are separate, and you can't really compare to those. And then you have
Yeah,
Iron
no one's
Man,
Batman.
and other than that, first Iron Man movie, you don't really have anything good. So
Well-
Thor looks pretty decent at that time.
Yeah, and so here's my I guess take on the whole first wave is we just now get the technology where we can make these movies like we wanted to the whole time, right? That's kind of like the whole remake fad. Like we made all these awesome movies way back in the day, but now we have technology to make them look real.
Right.
And so 2008 hits, we get a lot of really good CGI. I mean, it's exponential compared to
Sure,
what it was
Iron Man looked
4
great.
to 6 years before. And even still, like we have better CGI now, but the jump from what it was to that to what it was then now isn't as big, I don't think.
No.
And so we have all this amazing technology, and we're gonna bring to life these beloved superheroes for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I think they played it safe.
Yeah.
Because you're taking these characters that are beloved by the whole comic book community, and you're putting them on the big screen with all this technology. So of course, like the filming looks flashy, but I don't think they wanted to take any like writing risks to offend the fans.
And they haven't done that. Period.
Which people could take some notes, maybe
Yeah,
just a little
right.
bit on that. but-
It's like they haven't taken a risk in the whole universe of Marvel.
yeah.
Every once in a while, you're like, okay, that's a cool little twist, but overall, it's
Is
still the same
Deadpool
play.
Marvel?
It's not part of the cinematic universe.
Gotcha.
It is Marvel, but it's like
That's why they have
It's like the
X-Men,
X-Men.
and
It's
they
like
don't
it's its
have-
own thing.
Yeah, they don't have it. Okay.
Yep. But they just got the rights to it, I believe.
Oh.
So
I
because they
would
bought
love a
Sony,
Deadpool
So-
cameo.
I think they bought Sony, didn't they?
Well, they have Spider-Man now, so they had to.
Yeah,
figure
I think
something-
so.
They at least figured that out with Sony.
Yeah. So we got that, and then we got Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, this was probably the one I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah, that one was good.
I actually don't like that movie at all.
Really?
I haven't seen it in a long time. That's one of the ones I really wanted to go back and rewatch, and it wasn't on Netflix when I got back to watch it. I was like, darn it. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it again, but it just seemed like it was the first true origin story that we got.
Yeah.
Iron Man happened and he's like superhero. And that was, it's an origin story still, but it's not
Technically,
really. It's kind of different. He was more thrown in a scenario and it happened. Whereas this is we go back in time and we have our origin story. And I just felt like it was just kind of bland and not enough happening.
Well, you know why?
Not really.
This is the first time I realized I really hated Marvel movies.
Oh
This
boy,
is back
I
when-
didn't realize Drew hated
No,
Marvel
this
movies.
is back when I hated Marvel movies. Since then, I've grown to appreciate them because they've
Okay,
gotten
okay.
better. But if you go back and there's videos on this, like long form videos, the score of those movies
Oh, yeah.
sucked. And
Absolutely.
Captain America was the worst offender. Because at least in Iron Man, they
was the
have
worst
some, like,
Avenger. That's what you just said.
the worst offender.
Oh, I thought you said Captain America was the worst Avenger, which makes sense since he's the first Avenger.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so in Iron Man, they were at least playing some AC/DC music. Like they had some outside score that kind of fit Tony Stark's character. But if you listen to the music in Marvel First Wave, it's like forgettable. Like you can't
It is
name a theme song.
so forgettable.
You can't think of a moment that was enhanced by the music. So the scene in the first Captain America when he wakes up at the end and he sees the museum that has him.
Yeah.
And he goes in and he's hearing the story.
Yep.
That should be an emotionally hard-hitting scene that wrecks you.
Yeah.
But instead, like you have this like two violins in the background that they got from GarageBand, basically.
But they're doing like dialogue over top of all of it. Where
Yeah.
You can't even hear the music, and you're going, why?
Well,
why?
and
are
even
you...
if you could hear the music, it's forgettable. And
Exactly.
it doesn't. It's neutral, which kind of goes back to what I said about risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take a risk with the writing, and the stories are kind of good on their own, and they're comic books, which are inherently flat, so they didn't take any risks, and so okay, whatever. But then the score, I think if you added a great score to any of those early movies, they would have been a lot better.
Oh, I agree. There's a whole video done by one of my favorite YouTube channels. I think it's called Every Frame of Painting. If you have not checked out his YouTube channel, do it. He breaks
Yeah,
down
he's
the
really good.
Marvel Symphonic Universe.
Yeah.
And he asks these random people, can you sing a Harry Potter song? They sing it. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
like
this is the video
Star
that
Wars, all this
showed-
stuff.
yeah.
And then he says, can you sing a single Marvel movie theme? And they all go, oh, I have no idea what a Marvel song is. Like, and that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I think the Avengers is the only one. I know it's distinct enough for me to remember, but I
Sure.
couldn't sing it for you still.
Sure, and not that everything needs something you can sing along with. That's not what I'm saying, but it needs to be memorable and powerful, and they just aren't. And that was one of the biggest problems I had with that first Avengers or the first Captain America movie, was that it wasn't emotional to me. I didn't care that his Bucky
And
died.
it should have been.
I should have been like just destroyed when Bucky died, but I wasn't. I was like, okay,
When Bucky
fell
comes
off.
back in Infinity War, I was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Oh wait, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I forgot about you."
I mean, in Winter Soldier.
yeah,
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, yeah.
So so then the Avengers happens, and this is the first time we've ever seen tons of people, superheroes on screen together. This is like the first time, right? We've
Yeah.
seen the X-Men movies. We have a bunch of the X-Men together, but it's not the same because we've seen them all like that.
Because that's how it comes out originally.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't do it.
So now we're
yeah.
like, okay, we have all these solos gonna get together, and I think they pulled that off super well.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I don't think they could have done it much better. Looking back, you can go, oh, it wasn't powerful, but for what they needed at that time, it was perfect. It was super fun. Got everybody in the theater. They defeated a good villain. I thought Loki was awesome.
Yeah.
And I just thought overall it was a pretty good movie to kind of finish out phase one. And it was my second favorite theater experience of all time, too,
yeah.
because that was a blast.
I remember seeing that at the midnight release at the Cine Capri, which is like not quite IMAX, but it's like pretty big. It's in Phoenix and they have like the nice curtain. It's really cool. I had one gripe with the original Avengers, and I think they went too big too fast.
Interesting.
So I mean, you get Thor, you get Loki, you get all that, but the evil of that movie was an alien god who then allows alien giant floating worms with alien robot soldiers who are under Thanos to invade. And that was a way to transition to the next phase where they start going off Earth a lot.
Sure.
Hi, Angus. My dog's coming. He's like, "What are you guys doing?"
Hey, buddy.
But I think I would have liked to see the Avengers tackle something more within the realm of Phase 1 to that point. Hi, buddy. Which
Right.
would have been an earthly villain.
Right. Well,
And that's what we get in the next one.
yeah.
We get
and
an earthly
it's-
villain. Hi, buddy.
It's
the
interesting
next
because that started off the whole every villain's a world-ending villain.
Yeah,
right?
and so maybe we
But
should have just had a country-ending villain or
I
something.
think it works for the Avengers to be a world-ending villain because that's the point of getting the Avengers together. Is it's that big of a bad guy, right? Okay, Angus, you got to go. And but because they continued to do that for other movies, that I think is what ruined it. If they went back and did the next individual movies, solo movies weren't world-ending villains.
This is happening.
Yeah, it totally is. It would have totally been okay, but So then after that, we get Iron Man 3. That's the next movie that comes out. Is Iron Man 3.
Forgettable.
It's arguably the worst movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then next, you get Thor: Dark World, which is also arguably the worst. Those two,
I don't even know what happened in that movie.
Those two are like the absolute worst.
I've seen Thor: Dark World, but I can't even tell you what happened.
There's an Infinity Stone in it. The red Infinity Stone.
That's right.
I don't remember which one it is.
The Reality Stone.
Yeah, and Jane Foster goes in portals and all this stuff, and it should have been important, but it was so bad.
Yeah.
And nobody cared what was happening.
I don't even remember the plot.
Nope. And one of the problems was...
Wait, is this phase 2 now?
Yeah. This is starting phase 2.
Because Avengers and then
Avengers
phase 2.
ends phase 1.
So
Each
what's
Avengers
in
movie.
phase 2? So it's Thor,
Yeah, so
Dark
we have
World.
Iron Man 3, Thor: Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man.
Okay, so out of those movies, I liked Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the second Avengers. And I liked Guardians of the Galaxy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. The rest of them, I was like, ugh.
So,
The rest of them, at that time in my life, those were
Mhm.
all confirming that Marvel movies were crap.
Right. Well, this was a really bad phase.
Yeah.
Because you have the two worst movies in the whole universe.
Dark
The
World
first two. Iron Man 3,
and Iron
Dark
Man
World.
3.
And Iron Man 3, the reason that one was bad was because it broke so many of the rules that they had already set. And things happened that you were like, oh my goodness, like this doesn't make sense in the world that you've already developed. And that's what made it dumb. And then Pepper Potts coming back and not dying. And you're like, what? And she's
Yeah,
like
I
a
forgot
superhero
about
now.
all that.
And they just kind of gloss
Well,
over
yeah,
that.
yeah, right.
'Cause-
And now
'cause it
she
was
doesn't
dumb.
do anything.
Yeah. And then Thor: Dark World, we already talked about, just totally forgettable, bad movie. I think Captain America: Winter Soldier is the best Marvel movie. And there's another movie later that we'll talk about that I think is up there with it, but I think Captain America: Winter Soldier was the first one that was like, this is the first one that feels like The Dark Knight did, where it was like its own movie.
Yeah, and it was kind of dark, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah.
It's like a spy thriller. And Bucky comes back, and he's a great villain in that movie.
That's
And
right.
just lots of cool stuff. So I think Winter Soldier was excellent. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was also very good. I'm not going to say it was excellent.
See, I love that movie because it broke the beat.
That is also true. Okay, at that time, yes. It did do that. I kind of forgot that at that moment there was nothing else doing that yet. So
Yeah.
when
Well, I
that
mean,
did
you
come
think
out-
about it. It's like,
No, it was 2014. That was 5 years ago now.
oh my gosh, I can't believe that. This dog is so needy. Look at, he's got his hind legs on the couch, but his front legs on the on the ground, so he can just be a part of this. That movie was like 70s soundtrack, ridiculous kind of comedy, but like self-aware, not in like
Yeah.
a bad way.
True.
Because it's what it was supposed to be. And it was a space odyssey, but it wasn't like Star Wars. It was like this ridiculous, like we're just a bunch of like misfits in space beating bad guys up and making jokes. And that was so brilliant for the time.
Yeah, it did a really good job of being like, we know we're a comic book movie, and so we're gonna be kind of like a comic book. There's gonna be funny jokes, there's gonna be cheesy
Yeah.
this, and then Rocket Raccoon was just insanely good.
He was so good. He
And
was the
Peter
best
Quill,
character in that first
I
movie.
agree.
I think.
Just so much. I guess I would say now that I'm thinking about it, I think it is an excellent movie. I think
Yeah.
that one and Winter Soldier are both great. I totally disagree with you on Age of Ultron.
Really?
I hate that movie. And I actually put it, when I did my list of all 21 Marvel movies, I think I put it in the bottom 5. Because it was so disappointing to me because they make it seem like, actually a lot of it was at the end of the movie.
Comfortable.
Yeah, right? How's that comfortable, Angus?
Mom, come look at your dog.
And so Age of Ultron happens, right? And the post-credit scene of Age of Ultron is Thanos going, I guess I'll do it myself. And he grabs the gauntlet.
Yeah.
But he was never in control of Ultron. They make it seem like he was in control of
They
Ultron.
kind of back-wrote that into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They totally were just like, oh, we got to bring Thanos back in. Because they've been hinting to Thanos for a long time.
Well, in first Avengers, you see him.
In the first Avengers movie?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh my God!
Oh, at the very end. Yeah.
Yeah. There's that where they're talking to him, and he was the one at the end of that space thing that Stark saw, but didn't get to see the throne room scene.
You're right. Yeah, so they've been hinting to him a long time.
Oh, you gotta
And-
love on Angus now.
Oh, boy, Angus.
He's gonna stay there till you do.
Till I what?
Till you pet him.
There he goes.
Oh, there
Okay.
he goes. Okay.
So I just thought the Age of Ultron was mishandled because he
Yeah.
could have been a great villain, but we did get Vision because of it.
See, that's
a powerful point in the movie, but I just overall I don't remember Ultron, and I should.
Yeah.
He should have been a great villain, but instead it was just another typical villain trying to destroy the world. Like,
And so this is why I think Ultron would have been better as the first Avengers movie.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Because he was local. You know, so think about it. So there's some brilliant moments. I haven't even seen that movie in a long time, and I still remember the moment. So the first one I remember is when they go, "Oh crap, we just created a supervillain."
Sure.
That was great because it was all Stark's fault again.
Yep.
Like, do you see how many times Tony Stark almost destroys the world, and then it also is the one that saves it?
But it also makes sense why then what is it, the next one or something, when they start talking about the Paris Accords, or not the Paris Accords?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know, something Accords, something.
Yeah. I can't remember.
The one, yeah.
And you're like, that makes sense because he has actually been the problem in most of these scenarios.
He also saves it, which is like why no one is blaming him.
Without him, we wouldn't have most of these problems going on. He's the one that openly says, I'm a superhero, and straight up makes himself a target.
He's my favorite
I love him. I think he's a great character.
Come here, buddy.
But it makes sense why he's all for the Wakanda Accords. Well, no, not even that. What is the Sokovia? There it is. The Sokovia Accords.
We gotta get all the dogs.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so, okay, so we have Ultron. Then after that, we get Ant-Man. And I thought Ant-Man was actually, I was pleased with it because it didn't have a world-ending villain.
Geez,
it had,
that's
it had a little, I mean, literally a wasp-sized villain.
I didn't really like that movie that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought it was weak in some areas.
Agreed.
But I like it for that reason.
I liked the size of it. It was legitimately small, and that was good. And then I think Paul
Rudd,
of
they didn't try to
course,
make it
great.
small but huge. They just this is
right.
small. This is a guy who's not an Avenger. He's not in the Marvel universe. He came upon this by accident. It's really not that big of a deal if it goes wrong.
Yep.
But he's still going to save the day in this area. Yeah. It was localized.
My biggest issue with that movie is because of the type of superheroes, it has to be super scientific, and they completely are inconsistent. Because they say that whatever shrinks, it keeps its mass.
Yeah.
That totally doesn't make sense. He jumps on tables. He jumps on little trains.
Yeah.
Like, he would be just smashing everything. And then in the second one, they shrink a freaking building.
I didn't even see
and
the
he
second
rolls
one.
it around in a cart. Like,
actually, that's not true. So last week when I was in
so
Phoenix,
bad.
I was like, I got home from a podcast interview and like put on Ant-Man and the Wasp or whatever. And I fell asleep like 20 minutes into it.
Oh, it's bad.
I woke up the next day.
Unfortunately, that one's going to be super important, I think, for for Endgame because of the quantum realm, which he goes into.
Because he's going to go
is
up
time
Thanos'
travel.
butt.
Yeah, go up Thanos' butt.
He's going to go
That's
up
a
Thanos'
theory,
butt.
but that's not going to happen.
What if it did, though?
I would laugh so hard. It would be so great.
It'd be the worst
But
ending to
because
the whole
of the
series.
quantum realm, which is what he goes into. That's how they do time travel. Is what I've been hearing. Because they have to time travel. There's no way to reverse it without either using the time thing, but they have to get that from him, so that's not going to happen.
That's what I thought was going to happen, is they're going to get the gauntlet.
I don't think they can get it. Like, somehow something has to happen.
Have you heard the Stark right-hand theory with the gauntlet?
No, I have not.
Okay, so
explain it.
I didn't watch the full video, but I read a summary of the full video. I do that. I just, and then I think on the main ideas. So there's this idea, because if you look, it's either his right hand or his left hand, but in the last, for a long time, there's a couple movies back where Stark, when if it's his movie or an Avengers movie or a movie he makes a cameo in, he'll do this thing where his wrist hurts. And there's this theory that taking the gauntlet as a human and not as the super Thanos, even Thanos probably maybe had this problem a little bit, but not as much, but as a human using the gauntlet to reverse time, that the effects of that power on your body would reverberate through time. Because apparently there's no sustaining injury that would have caused him to do this.
Right.
Necessarily. And so the idea is that he'll be the one to save it all.
And use the gauntlet.
Use the gauntlet. Because he would be the one to do it. Everyone else would be like, I don't want that power.
No, he has to be the one.
I don't care.
Because Doctor Strange gives up the time stone to save Tony Stark. Because he knows Tony Stark is important.
Survives. Because there's only one.
He's the only guy that's in danger, and he says, okay, I'll give you the stone. And he straight up gives up because...
What phase was Doctor Strange in?
I'm getting there. That's in 3.
That's 3? Okay.
Yeah. So Ant-Man was in 2.
We'll put Endgame to the side before we get to our theories. That should be at the
Absolutely.
end anyways.
So
that's
we have... we just got done with 2, which is Ant-Man. Then we get Captain America Civil War to start off Phase 3. That's a great way to start Phase 3. Because I think Civil War is... That was
the first movie
let me read through them all.
Okay.
Phase 3. Wow, there's a lot in Phase 3. So we have Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and Wasp, Captain Marvel, and then Endgame. So, going back to
I
Civil
like
War,
this.
I think
This is the best
Civil
phase
War
by far.
Oh, without a doubt, the best phase. There's only like one or two, there's definitely one really bad movie in there. There might be two. So Civil War, I think, is a very solid movie. I personally don't like it that much.
Yeah.
I think it was not quite as good as it could have been.
I think it's so I don't remember the biggest parts of the movie, but what I do remember is that it was for the first time where we saw the dark side of a lot of those people.
Yes.
You know, Tony Stark has a dark side, but then you see Captain America starting to go into the system, and I love that. Like the movie itself, I don't think was executed well, but I remember that was a turning point in Captain America.
Yeah, that's the Sokovia Accords
yeah.
movie where they bring that up
yeah.
and they split up because of that.
Exactly.
Right.
And I like that because that was the first time for me it showed me they were capable of doing that to one of their heroes. That wasn't Tony Stark.
Yeah. I agree. And there were parts I really liked about it. Really liked.
Yeah.
But then it just felt like they just did the movie to get onto the next one because
well, and they were supposed to kill somebody.
I never
right?
bought the fact that they actually didn't like each other.
That's true.
It just never convinced me.
They were just mad and fighting, but didn't want to.
It was like,
kill
quit
each
being a
other.
little child. Yes, he might have known about your parents a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Get over it. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense why that, which happened so long ago, and Stark is supposed to have gotten over that by now. You know, like, I don't know. It just didn't quite hit it for me. But it was still a very good movie and a great way to start off. Then we have Doctor Strange.
Oh, that's my favorite Marvel movie of all time.
Really?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay, I'm gonna guess it's because of the meta narrative.
Yes.
And not
Yes.
because of the quality of the movie. Because there's
But
some problems I have with
like
that
what?
movie.
Okay, because I don't think that way. So bring them up.
So my
'cause I don't
biggest
know
issue
them.
with that movie is the iMovie special effects they use. The
Really?
stupid little like
Oh,
it is
yeah,
so
yeah.
cheesy and so bad.
like the patternistic stuff.
yeah,
like the
and
mirrors
like some
and
of
stuff.
it makes
yeah.
sense. Like when he puts him in the mirror world where it's like
Yes.
that makes sense. The whole like everything's just like doubling on itself and twisting and like it was like I've seen that
Yeah.
like 20 years ago on my computer. Like it was weird that was like the thing he was using. I don't know, but I loved
See,
it.
I've never thought about that.
I loved
yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch. I thought the story was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I really, really like the story.
That's why. That's why this is my
I
favorite Marvel
just
movie.
it didn't quite matter to me.
Really.
No, and I think I wanted more of him learning about the dark arts and less about just kind of stuff. Like I don't know. Like once he started
That
learning
wasn't
that
revealed
magic,
till the end.
they should have just like totally pushed in. He should have been started to learn about all those sacred books and they kind of
Yeah.
hint that he does that obviously, but I wanted
Yeah.
him to become like this mega powerful wizard. Instead he just keeps using his little rope twisty thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
Which
there's gotta
he
be more to
becomes that
this.
wizard in the which you don't see, but
right
by the time
by
we get to
Infinity War,
yeah.
yes. But where's the cool action? All they do is they all do like the same couple little
They're
things.
using the basic fighting magic.
Yes,
Yeah.
through the whole thing, and that's actually one of my biggest issues with the Harry Potter is the same way. The magic they learn in like movie 1 or 2 is the same stuff they use through the entire series.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You're not gonna like upgrade your magic? And that's the same with Doctor Strange. Like, he should have been by the end when he was fighting Dormammu. Like, oh, actually not Dormammu, but his what's the bad
the
guy?
ancient one.
No, when he was fighting the Mads Mikkelsen's character. When he should have been using some crazy cool magic,
Yeah.
but he wasn't.
I'm gonna push back.
Okay,
So I think so, and this is for Harry Potter too, which I will defend to the death. I'm just kidding.
I will not defend it to the death,
Oh
but
man,
whatever.
it's so good. The reason, at least in this movie, the reason they're all using that magic is because they're all trained to a varying degree of the lesser forms of magic on what's the light side or the good side.
Sure.
Because the Ancient One knows the power of the dark side, what it does to most people, and she knows most people aren't capable of doing that responsibly.
Sure.
So I think, at least, and this is me, I'm the meta-narrative guy, right?
Yeah.
Who sees the stuff even if it's not executed well. Oh, so such a curse. No, I'm just kidding. I think that movie's brilliant because it challenges his entire belief system. He's this doctor who thinks he's God. He doesn't think there's anything beyond himself. And then he loses everything and becomes so desperate that he'll go to some weird country in the far side of the world to seek an option that's probably, he doubts with his full mind. And then that itself is the pathway to healing, but more than healing, an actual purpose, an actual deep connection to fighting for the best parts of the world. And he's fighting against himself the whole time, his own doubt, his own disbelief, his own darkness. And then at the end, what does he learn? He learned this way, this disciplined, structured way of just fierce study and rigorous discipline and limitedness, to find out that the one that's keeping it all afloat is actually using the very thing they're not supposed to use to keep the whole world from darkness.
Yeah.
So, but what's perfect about it is that the Ancient One sees this in him at the very end. His own darkness and yet his own stubborn strength is the very thing that puts him in a position to wield the dark magic responsibly and not use it for evil. Because he saw what happened when he was corrupted by power. It almost killed him and he lost everything. So, like, I love his character development more than anyone. And there's a line that she says. This is the line, oh my god, this is my favorite line in the entire Marvel universe. And this sort of goes into, because it's almost a discipleship theme, like in Christian discipleship, not even just Marvel movies. But she says, you can't command this power. You have to surrender yourself to the river. And that moment for him is a turning point, because he's trying to force it. Like, I can do this. I figured out because I'm self-capable.
Right.
But then he realizes, I don't know anything. My self-capableness got me here.
Right.
Now I have to surrender something greater than myself. And when he learns that lesson, he's the only one to learn it in the way that can let him wield the dark magic. And and then what do we see? Him facing Dormammu. He's willing to die over and over again for eternity to stop Dormammu from invading Earth. Out of all the Marvel characters, that is the most self-sacrificial, truly heroic act we've seen in every single movie. It's the truest risk. There's not a single Marvel movie that has that kind of risk of a character on it.
Yeah.
Or that kind of development from... He is like another Tony Stark in a sense, right? This self-righteous, I'm kind of a dick, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm rich and famous, and, you know... But he's the only one that grows in one movie from that to a humble... servant of humanity.
Yeah, because you see him every time he shows up in the other movies. It's such an interesting dynamic when he shows up in the other movies, because he is so much more powerful than anyone.
He's fundamentally transformed,
and
but he's not going to show it to you.
He understands that there's so much more than anything anyone, even Thor, who's from another planet, still doesn't know as much as he does, because he is. And now that you've explained it, like, I do love that part of the movie.
Well, think about it. If Dormammu won, Thanos isn't crap compared to Dormammu.
Right.
So, like, Ant-Man has seen quantum realms. He's seen other dimensions that could swallow ours and enslave it.
Huh.
Oh, man.
Dang.
It blows my mind.
Honestly,
it blows my mind.
When I first saw that movie, I thought Dormammu was Thanos.
He kind of looks like him.
Because it looked like...
And I
was
think
like,
that's intentional.
That can't be right, but... yeah, we might come back to that at some point later on.
Dormammu is commanding Thanos.
Thanos doesn't work for someone. We know that.
Yeah, but he wouldn't know he's working for him, because that's Dormammu.
True. All right.
My favorite Marvel movie.
Okay, so Doctor Strange. Now that you've mentioned that, I'm more accepting of that movie. But I don't know. Every time I watch it, I'm just kind of like, I'm so disappointed at some of the execution of some of the...
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm willing to spend all of that.
I know. But the director was a Christian. Scott Derrickson is a Christian.
And that's so clear.
And it's obvious.
Okay, I'm going to do a YouTube video at some point on the gospel according to Marvel, but especially Doctor Strange. Because, no, seriously, it's the perfect demonstration of it. It's so good.
Yeah. All right. Then next we get Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Not as good as the first. Still really good, but not as good as the
first. Nope. Don't like it.
You don't like it at all?
For anybody that's not watching, that was me pretending to give the middle finger. I don't know what I was doing.
But if they're watching, they would know that you did that and you just explained it. And you said for anyone that's not watching.
You're right. Whatever. So if I ever put this on a podcast, there you go. Anyway, I did not like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 at all. I really disliked that movie. Couple reasons. One, they tried to do the same thing they did with the first one, and they just overdid it with all the jokes. All the jokes were forced. They didn't feel like they were just came about.
It had the same problem as all the rest of the Marvel movies with humor.
Yeah, it was just kind of poor timing and breaking up tense moments with jokes. The first one did that, but it made sense because Peter Quill's just that way. He doesn't like tension, so he jokes his way out of it. This was everybody was joking their way out of tension. And you're like, what is going on?
Because Gamora doesn't do that in the first one.
No, and she's doing this one, and all this weird stuff's happening.
Rocket kind of does, but he's more he's just kind of a smart ass.
Yeah.
Peter Quill is a jokester and a smart ass, but Rocket is just kind of
evil.
Mean.
Yeah, mean.
Yeah.
He's mean. That's a perfect.
He's just rude.
And then I didn't like Teenage Groot.
Yeah.
No, it was Baby Groot.
Baby Groot.
It was Baby Groot in that one. Wait, no. Was he in the whole movie? I can't
He was
remember
Baby
even.
Groot, yeah.
He was the whole movie?
Because remember
Okay.
the first one, doesn't he die in the first
Yeah.
one?
And at the opening credits of the second one, that's it. The opening credits, he's just dancing for like 5 minutes while the credits roll. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be this, huh? And then I didn't like... It was just weird that Peter Quill's dad was a god. And yet, like, he just kind of... It goes away and it's almost like nothing happens now.
I was going to say,
like,
in the second event, in Infinity War,
mm-hmm.
that should have elevated who he was, but he was still the same.
Yeah, he didn't change at all.
Yeah.
Knowing that his dad was a god.
The only time he references it in Infinity War is he says, well, I'm only half you and that's the stupid half. Which is a really good line.
It is. But one of the problems was that it just like the movie was just pointless. I feel like it was. Like it didn't make any sense.
It was entirely Peter Quill's self-exploration,
Yeah.
which was necessary for his character, but those implications, if you're going to spend a whole movie on it, should carry over into other movies.
Sure.
And they
sure.
could in Endgame, who knows?
And they needed to make it clear
Wait,
why
did he
was.
die? He died, huh, in Endgame, or in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Oh, then it ruins it.
Oh,
'Cause
he'll be back. He'll be back.
I know he'll be back, but he'll be back when everyone else is back.
Which is probably like going to be right at the beginning, I think.
Oh, really?
I really do. I think well, we'll get to that. That's more theory stuff.
Save it,
We'll
save
talk
it.
about theory. But
Because
Peter Quill, like, they had to show that he was part god so he could hold that Infinity Stone. Because he did. He held in the first one, he holds the Infinity Stone.
Oh,
and
that's right.
All his friends hold him, and he survives. He shouldn't have been able to survive.
See, and this is what weird for me. This is what's weird for me.
Mhm.
Wow. I didn't know the whole stigma behind the Infinity Stones because I never read comics as a kid. And now that you're explaining this, I'm seeing that. So go ahead.
Yeah. So it was important that his dad was that powerful. And it's cool. It's a cool story that his dad was that person. I didn't like how they portrayed his dad. He was just like some jerk god that just built a planet of himself or something weird like that. I'm like, what? Moving on. Anyway, so I didn't like that movie. That was kind of pointless.
I liked some of it, but yeah, it's not. It doesn't set itself as important, and I don't see for the rest of the characters any development. Pete, you're ruining the sound.
I know.
dude.
Petey.
He's so cute though. He's 13. He's almost 13.
Wow.
In
That's like 90 years old.
In like 2 months, he turns 13, but he still acts like a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Huh, buddy.
Yeah. All right. So the next on our list, we have Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I liked it.
I thought it was very fun.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're gonna make a Marvel movie about a character that's kind of not that important, like Spider-Man's, like really popular,
Yes.
but he's not that important.
I like that they did
And
that though.
they kind of made him not important. Oh, he's playing with his toy.
Okay. So
And I did enjoy that they didn't make him important and all that, and I thought it was a good start to a movie because again, the bad guy wasn't a world-ending villain.
yes.
He just wanted to steal some weapons and be a
neighborhood
terrorist.
villain.
He just wanted to make money so he could support his family. Really, is
Yeah.
what he wanted, in a twisted way. But
Dude, are you keeping up?
no, actually, I'm behind. I think I had more whiskey than you did, though.
Oh, that might be true.
But I'll chug in a minute. So, I thought Homecoming was a good movie, but in the overall arc of Marvel, I forget about it.
Yeah.
And it came out 2 years ago, and I still forget about it.
Yeah.
Just because of kind of what it was.
Well,
They just need to get him in there so they could use him.
this is the unfortunate reality of Marvel in the sense that they couldn't use Spider-Man earlier.
Right.
If we would have had this movie Phase 1, well, we couldn't have had Tom Holland, and I think he's perfect.
Sure.
So that sucks. He's perfect. But also, Phase 1, at least in my opinion, was less world-ending until the Avengers,
Sure.
the first Avengers
Yeah,
movie,
absolutely.
and it would have fit better.
Well, you kind of had a world ending with the Hitler-ish Nazi army.
Well, yeah, but that's
But-
because it's the Nazis, and that literally was
It was an
world-ending
actual
in
thing.
actual
So, like,
history,
yes,
yeah.
but it wasn't Avengers type.
It
Okay, so we had
yeah.
Homecoming. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, Homecoming was amazing." I don't think it was an amazing movie. I think it was fine.
Oh, he's back.
Then we have arguably the best Marvel movie ever,
Oh,
Thor: Ragnarok.
I agree, 100%.
Now, I posted my list on Facebook
You're gonna have to let Pete up on your
about
side because he's
Pete.
gonna.
Come here, Pete. Come here.
Oh, Angus is gonna come on your side.
Okay,
now.
Angus is coming over here. We got all the dogs. So Thor Ragnarok, I posted my list a few months ago about, actually it was right after Captain Marvel came out,
Yeah.
and I made my list of best superhero movies, and I had Captain America's Civil War. Not Civil War. Man, you're distracting me.
I'm sorry.
These dogs.
Well, he's gonna get up either way.
I had Captain America Winter Soldier at number 1. And then I had Iron Man at number 2. And I had Thor Ragnarok at number 3.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Ragnarok. And I think you could kind of intertwine any 3 of those and you'd be okay.
Iron Man 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first Iron Man,
agree.
Winter Soldier, and Ragnarok were my top 3. And then I think I had the first Avengers movie actually at number 4 because of what it did at the time. But I love Ragnarok.
Dude, it's so good.
I have seen it. The first time I saw that movie, I hated it with a passion.
Really?
I saw it and I was like, this movie's so dumb. It's so cheesy. They just make jokes about everything. And then my friend, who is a director and brilliant, said, Caleb, you got to look at who the director is. He's a comedy director that knows you're watching a superhero comic book movie.
Yes.
And he's making fun of the fact that everything is supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Because comic books are funny. And
yeah.
he does. And then I watched it again and I realized that it's all comedic genius. Like,
yes.
the whole time.
Well, so this was the movie that first, there's a couple things I want to say. First off, this is the first movie I watched realizing that it was fine for them to be comic book movies. Because comic books, if you look at the way they're written, they always have flat characters. They always have comedy. And especially in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they're always propaganda.
Right.
And that's important. They were really good. They were really good for what they were, and they served their purpose. And when you translate that to a movie, for a while I was like, oh no, they need to be like the rest of movies as far as literary value goes. And even still, I kind of had that idea. That was the first movie where I had accepted that they could be comic book movies.
Yeah.
Movies based on comic books. And that was even that aside, my whole personal dilemma aside, that was the one that played it off the best, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. Because, well, Guardians of the Galaxy would be the other one.
Yes, and that was the first one that did it really, really well.
And I think, but I don't know. There's a part of me that is like, in 50 years from now, when we've forgotten, there's no more Marvel movies coming out, which there probably still will be, but that's stupid. In 50 years, which of these movies are we still going to be watching and going, that is still a fun movie?
It's so fun.
It's going to be Thor Ragnarok, because the comedy he uses isn't modern day comedy. It's classic comedy. The way he shoots
That's a good point.
the way the jokes are, it's not like he's making modern references.
I'm getting a spaceship. You want to come?
Yeah. The whole the hammer.
The rock paper scissors joke. Oh my god, a hammer pulled you off.
It's so
My
funny.
name's cool. I made of rocks. I wanted to start a revolution, but I forgot to print the pamphlets. Only my mum and her boyfriend Jeff came. I hate Jeff.
It's so funny. I just think that too many people, and
What's his friend's name? His little friend with the scissor knife hands. Which is
he's
funny.
like, oh, he's dead. I stepped on him.
Oh, he's dead. I stepped on him earlier. I've been carrying him around because I felt bad.
Oh, look, he's alive.
Oh, look, he's alive.
Yeah, that movie.
Oh my
and
God.
I was guilty of this the first time I saw it, where I took it too serious.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that he purposely was making a comedy. It wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't using comedy to fix stuff.
Yeah.
He was making a straight up comedy.
And that's a good point, because typically what wave 1 and definitely wave 2. Oh my god. Zoom in on my face. Wave 2 sucks. Right? Like they
Phase
used
2.
comedy to escape the fact that they did not want to make emotional moments.
Yes, because there's so many powerful moments in some of those movies that you're like, I'm gripping my seat and they crack a joke and you're like, oh, okay, I can relax.
like,
But
oh,
you shouldn't
no.
want to relax. Like, these are
Comic relief should only come when it's so tense you can't take it anymore.
Yep. And not every time. But in all the others, many of the other Marvel movies, it happens every time there's an intense moment, they crack a joke. Thor knows that and doesn't even build up to intense moments. It purposely is like, we are going to crack a joke at every moment possible.
Yeah.
I just think of the moment when he's Thor and Hulk are there and the girl's there and they're all talking in the room and he decides to throw the bowling ball out the window to break it. And he throws it and hits the wall and bounces back and hits him in the face. And he pops right up. He's like, all right. And he just jumps out the window. Like, little things like that is classic comedy.
Yes.
That's going to last forever. And it's so well put together.
And you know what's good about it is this is something I haven't thought about until this moment.
Oh.
Revelation. That movie sets the stage for that really early. I don't know if the rest of the Marvel movies do that.
Does it from the first scene because
first
he's
scene.
he's sitting there in the cage talking with that skeleton.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like what Star Wars Episode 8 does with Finn and Hux, but doesn't do well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Very
just wanted to
different.
trigger Kate
Very
just a
different.
little bit.
And actually, I had a friend. So I posted this on Facebook, and one of my friends was like, "I can't believe Thor Ragnarok is that high on your list. That's ridiculous." So we started getting in this discussion, and I hate debating through typing because you can never like portray your points through.
Everyone
typing.
sounds how you are feeling at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but his point was, he's like, "Well, Last Jedi was the same way. It was totally a joke on everything too." But Last Jedi, Star Wars has never been a joke. There's never been funny.
There's been funny moments.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Really
yeah,
funny
absolutely. And
moments.
it is a sci-fi
Angus,
and all
what
this.
are you chewing?
But the first three movies.
Mom, can you come see what he's chewing?
He's chewing on something. Oh, it's your little
Oh,
black.
it's. Keep talking.
So Star Wars has always been pretty serious in terms of like what it's talking about and what it's doing. This is really tough to talk about while he's chasing a dog down over here. I'm trying to tell you something, so I'm gonna delay. This is me pivoting. This is me wanting to rant about Star Wars again, and you're not letting me. So,
That's probably good.
Last Jedi. So, Star Wars. Star Wars has always been a pretty serious thing. If you look at like what the original movies were talking about and everything, there's funny moments, but it's not just a joke. Never has been.
That's true.
The prequels definitely weren't. Those were actually probably trying to be too serious. And then you had episodes of like there are funny moments. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely funny moments, but you get to Last Jedi and it's straight up a comedy that doesn't fit in the series.
Well, Ryan Johnson has a. Oh, I wish I remembered the quote. He did that on purpose.
I know. I don't like him.
Okay, so really, this is called Whiskey Reviews, but the actual show is about how long can we talk about something else before it ends up about Star Wars Episode 8.
Pretty much. But Ragnarok is different because the base material is a comic book that is like a joke.
Yes, and that was
And
never
so it
Lucas's
makes
intention
sense.
with Star Wars.
And there's
so that
20
makes
some
sense.
movies. It's
Yeah.
not like this is like a small group, which we have with Star Wars. We have 20 some movies. You can make try
Some
different
of them can
things.
be funnier. Some
exactly.
of them can be Civil War.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And he's a classic comedy director that knows what he's doing. He's done comedy right. Ryan Johnson has never done comedy.
Can we talk about how great Jeff Goldblum's character was?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, he wants his
So
own movie
good.
now.
Really?
Did you know that? Yeah, which is the most Jeff Goldblum.
I
thing.
would totally watch
It was
it.
the most Jeff Goldblum character doing the most Jeff Goldblum thing, and now he wants his own movie just to do that the whole time. It would be
Oh.
so great.
It would be so
because
great.
he was like this like arch villain, powerful guy, and he was so just not threatening or serious
I
at
know.
all. He's like, I don't want the melting rod. Why did you hand me the melting rod? He's just so funny.
Oh, it's getting on my feet. Oh, gross.
Oh.
Gross. So, yeah, I think Thor Ragnarok is insanely awesome in almost every way. Unfortunately, and this is the one big issue I have with the movie, without it, the Infinity War still happens the same way. Because they show up, Asgard gets destroyed. They're like, the people, or Asgard is the people, not the place. And then at the end, Thor shows up and kills most of them. And you're like, what? Like, the whole point of that movie was that they were going to leave and start something new. And then Thanos just shows up and, like, does his thing. Right then.
Yeah.
They don't even, like, get to another planet or anything. It's almost kind of like its own little movie by itself, which is fine. I think it totally works, actually, like that.
Yeah.
But that's my one concern is that it doesn't really progress the story. But they already
Except
knew
for
what
Thor's
they wanted to
character
do.
development.
That was big. Big, because now
That's the first time he had a risk.
Yeah.
Ever.
Okay.
In the history
I
of
have to
any
talk this
movie.
before we get to Captain Marvel. The reason Thor's a god, right? Well, in the world, he's a god. And
Yeah.
he has all this power, but it wasn't until this movie, how many movies is that? 6 something that he's been in?
He's in a lot, yeah.
That he finally realizes that he has the power without the hammer.
The hammer.
Whoa.
Oh my god,
Damn it,
bloody
five.
oath.
It took 5 movies, though, for him to realize that.
Yeah.
Unlike Captain Marvel, where she realizes all her power in one movie.
Like 2 seconds.
In like 2 seconds.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
No, so that's why so Thor Ragnarok for me, there's really some really good things about it. First, it recognizes it's a comic book movie and they're inherently funny.
Yes.
because that's how comics were.
Mm-hmm.
But it plays it off in a good way. So it starts from the beginning with humor. It starts from the beginning with let's belittle our enemies, and makes that a thing that enhances the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then when what's her name? I don't even know the villain's name.
Hela.
Hela. She's still scary,
Yeah, she's a really good villain.
but that one guy, they demean him and he becomes just a tool to beat her, And then the second thing, they introduce this weird very 80s sci-fi feel.
Yeah.
I love that because that's when I don't know the date of the original Ragnarok comic,
Sure.
but I'm gonna take $10 and guess it was right then in the 80s, as if someone from the Stranger Things was reading that comic,
Right, and and on shrooms or something.
Yeah, because
yep.
it's not just let's think about space, because Star Wars, yes, it's inspired by its times, the first trilogy,
Sure.
but it's also timeless. But a lot of sci-fi from that period had that kind of weird 8-bit music, not fully like Mario 8-bit, but
Yeah, right.
early synth music, the same song they would loop in Thor, and it had that weird almost Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy type feel.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that movie just felt to me like Thor got sent to Hitchhiker's Guide, because it wasn't like sci-fi, think about the amazing technology. It was like sci-fi, think about all the weird crap, so, and the philosophy behind it. Oh my god. And so all of that's happening, and Thor gets sent to it. So it's not this high and mighty, virtuous world of the gods. It's this deconstructed, raw, weird, kind of nihilistic sci-fi world.
Mm-hmm.
And everything just doesn't mean much, so it can be funny. It was just so brilliantly played off.
And even I just there's so many moments you can think about that movie and laugh about. The Matt Damon cameo.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, I forgot about it.
So funny. And then even Hela, she's realized it's almost like she's in this movie and why is everybody so stupid? She plays it off like that as a villain. Everybody's stupid but me. And that's what's so great. Because everybody has her new, executioner, whatever, Carl Urban's character.
He's an idiot.
And he's I got these from a place called Texas. It's so good. So many good things. Okay, let's move on. Ragnarok, love it.
So
I will continue to love it. And every time I see it, I like it more.
The biggest gift of Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Korg. I'm a rock.
My name is Korg.
The best thing about that movie, everything about the movie is great. The best thing about that movie is Korg.
Oh yeah, and that's that's the
The hammer
director.
pulled you off.
The director is who does the voice for that.
I know. I watched his interviews and he did it.
Taika Waititi is so funny. Watch him in interviews. He's
Who's the director
crazy
for Endgame?
It's the Russo brothers.
Russo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I'm confident. Hopefully, this will happen. Please, I know it's already shot and it's coming out next week. Please let Korg be in Endgame. Please.
I think he will be.
Oh my god! If I'm not, I'm gonna go rampant. I'm gonna punch someone.
Start a revolution.
I'm gonna start a revolution. Forgot to print
Okay.
the pamphlets.
Then the next movie is a pretty controversial movie, and I only say controversial because of Black Panther.
Oh, Black Panther. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
controversial because of the renown it got. It was up for Best Picture.
The political stigma.
The first comic book movie ever to be up for Best Picture or superhero movie. Probably both. It was up for. It won three Oscars: Best Costume, Best Set Design, and something else. I think insane how much praise this movie got, and I don't even think it's a top. It's not even the best. It might be the third best of this phase.
Yeah, it's not.
Because I think Ragnarok was better.
I enjoyed Ragnarok more.
Civil War is arguably better. You would say Doctor Strange is probably better.
I would say Doctor Strange.
Infinity
is
War is definitely better.
Yeah.
And then
I would go Doctor Strange, Ragnarok, Infinity War. That's my top 3
of that phase. Interesting.
Maybe all time, but
I would definitely go Ragnarok, Infinity War. I might go Black Panther. I would definitely go Black Panther number 3 on that list. Yeah.
So I liked Black Panther.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
But sorry, I had to burp. Like a lot of movies.
I've just been burping into the mic.
No, that's true.
So.
I could just like a lot of movies or series do is whichever one gets the hype from critics and the Academy is the one you criticize the most, or have to. You have to criticize the most. Because you judge each movie based on what kind of, like, if a movie has a 20 on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not going in going, man, I can't believe people liked it. Like, I understand that nobody thinks this movie's good, right?
Yeah.
This movie gets nominated for Best Picture, so they think it's the best movie of that group that came out this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so now I have to judge it against Infinity War. I have to judge it against Ragnarok. And it wasn't the best of those movies. Now, in categories, yes. Costume design, excellent.
In popularity, maybe even.
Popularity was huge. But people don't learn... They need to learn how to separate popularity from quality of movie.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Well, that's tough, though, because not everyone's a film major. People approach film from wherever they're at, and that's why it got where it got.
And that's actually why a lot of film people get hated on by non-film people. They go, just quit being so critical. Like,
yeah, why are you racist?
But... yeah, because that's what that was about. No, I look at a movie and go, okay, is it good by itself? Is it good? Black Panther was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was definitely a top 10 Marvel movie, maybe top 8. It's really good, but it's not a Best Picture. It's Best Picture movie.
I agree.
Any movie that's nominated for Best Picture
for that year, even. I mean, what won?
It was Green Book that won.
I haven't seen Green Book, so. But I mean, what else?
It's a classic. It's like it's about race and it's a comedy, but it's everybody has to feel good at the end.
Can we start a series called Hot Takes with Caleb?
We keep talking about this where I say things that really tick me off. And movies that win Best Picture are usually movies that tick me off because they're so just hard to dislike, but they're not great movies.
Yeah, well, your whole thing is timelessness.
Yes, a movie that wins Best Picture,
and that's why you don't.
Needs
that's why
to be timeless.
Black Panther's not higher for you because
it's not timeless at all. Because the second we get out of this, Black Panther was perfect for our time right now.
I agree.
We have all this race
really
stuff going on.
Movement,
you have all these movements. It was perfect timing, and I will not take that away from them. And whatever that does for people, fine. But in 20 years,
movie, 50 years from now,
50 years from now,
years.
even 20 years from now.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be relevant anymore. And we're going to go, why is that? Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully it doesn't
We're
going
to look back and go, why was Black Panther so liked?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. And that shouldn't happen. The Dark Knight's good because it's good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when it came out. It's a great movie by itself.
Yes.
And that's why I think Ragnarok works is its comedy is not funny for our time right now. It would have been funny 30 years ago.
Yes.
And it's going to be funny in 30 years.
So I've been thinking a lot about this because I'll appreciate you love the timelessness of film, but what you're tapping into there, and this is more on my side, is that the things that make a film timeless tap into at least 50-50 and maybe 100% into the timelessness of a story.
Absolutely.
And that's when a story taps into fundamentally human dilemmas, regardless of culture, nation, race, particular moment in history, technological advancement. There are things that are fundamentally human. So this is like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis with Narnia and in Lord of the Rings, respectively, and Lucas with Star Wars, what they were trying to create. Comic books tap into this because they have surface-level archetypal narratives. They're a little more flat, but that's what makes something timeless when it taps into a fundamentally human problem that if someone like St. Augustine from the year 300 whenever he lived to now watched it, they could relate to the fundamental human issues.
Right.
So Black Panther had a lot of those.
Yes, absolutely.
But it was also, like you said, contextualized to this moment in such a way where the intricacies of it won't last.
Mm-hmm. And actually, if you look at it, the first two phases didn't have a single movie that was based on what's popular in politics right now. Not a single one.
That's probably true.
And then we had 2 in phase 3.
So Black Panther and
Captain Marvel. Now, they didn't, in themselves, they're not a problem. It's the push behind them that's the problem. Now, Black Panther actually, I will backpedal a little bit. Black Panther wasn't pushing itself as you need to watch this because it's about race. It wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
At all.
I know.
I loved
honestly,
it.
I went in thinking it was going to handle it completely different than
Absolutely.
it did. And that's why I liked it a lot because it kind of played that card, but not completely.
It was more about this is an issue and we're going to address this issue. They didn't bring any politics into it or anything like that. And they didn't, in their marketing, they didn't say you need to watch this movie because it's about race.
Yeah.
That would have been the dumbest thing for them to do because that's what they did with Captain Marvel about different issues, but they didn't do that with Black Panther, and I love that they didn't do that. Mm-hmm. I just think that because it was nominated for Best Picture, It needs to be. It
Oh,
now
okay, I
is
see. Yeah.
elevated to a level of scrutiny that no other Marvel movie
Yeah,
has.
so if it's going to be Best Picture, so it's a comic book movie that's been nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
It has to hold up against movies.
Best Picture movies.
Best Picture, like what?
So now
Name a couple.
I hold
Name
up
like the top Best Picture
Roma.
movies.
Well, it came out the same year. Okay?
Did Roma win Best Picture?
No, it did
No,
not.
it didn't. But it's
So Roma came out.
Roma's
Roma
great.
is timeless.
Okay. And Roma kind of played the same card. It was historically grounded on a political controversy, but it's timeless because it talks about
the
things
way
that happened.
and the way it was shot. That's what people don't realize. Just because something in itself is timeless, the way it's shot is timeless.
That's
the
true.
camera movements are from like
There was
the
nothing
40s.
trendy. Yeah.
Like since the beginning of movies, they've been doing just panning and tripod
Well, and it was
shots.
black and white.
Black and white, which was
You
huge.
know what? It's a long movie, and I sat in that room over there, which you guys can't see, but that's where our TV is. And I watched like what is it, like 2.5 hours?
No, it's not even that long. It's like barely 2
Really?
hours.
It's
Maybe 2:15.
but it's slow.
Yeah, it's very slow. It's
very
very
slow.
slow paced, but
But
that's foreign film pacing, by the way.
Yeah,
If you're
which
gonna get into
I'm
foreign
learning
films,
to like. I'm learning
that's
to
what they
like.
do.
Yeah,
And-
but I was engaged because like the emotional connection you have. I
Yeah.
don't know what her character's name is, but the main character, the
Yeah.
actress, which by the way, oh my gosh, she is so good. And it was
Yeah.
her first movie, wasn't it?
It was.
Oh wow!
And so I look at a movie like that and Black Panther and go, okay, Black Panther should have been nominated for Best Costume,
are you gonna want to?
probably.
Okay, I'll go.
It should have
Keep
been
talking.
nominated for Best Set Design, which it was, and Best Score, absolutely, but it shouldn't have been nominated for Best Picture because it's not a timeless movie. Now, that's also, people have different opinions on what a Best Picture movie should be about, but from my point of view, all the greatest Best Picture winners are the timeless kind of movies, and so that's kind of how I judge Black Panther. All right, Drew, come back over here. All right, so our next movie is Infinity War. So Infinity War is our next movie. Thank you. Appreciate it, sir. Ooh, it's nice and the Rockies are blue. The Rockies are blue.
Just so you guys know, Coors is actually in Golden, but this mountain you can see from Telluride Ski Resort.
Really?
Yeah.
What mountain is that?
Mom, what mountain is the?
It's Snuffles?
It might be Sniffles.
Oh, that's
or
awesome.
Mount Wilson. It's one
So
of
we
those
live like hour and a half from Telluride, not even
two. Hour 20.
hour 20.
The way I drive, it's about an hour 5.
Yeah.
At 3 in the morning.
So
Whoops.
the mountain on the Coors can is about an hour and a half away.
Yeah. So if you're
And I
gonna
know
go to
many
Coors,
people that have summited that mountain.
if you're gonna go to Coors to see this mountain in Golden, you're in the wrong place because Denver's flat. Golden's flat, baby. It's Eastern Range. Real Colorado is at least middle of the state, if not Western Slope.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
a hot take for another video.
All right. And Coors did not sponsor this video. We wish. Someday, if we get popular enough, we'll have a whiskey company sponsor us, and we'll drink their whiskey on the show. But
And then at that point, we might only have whiskey.
no, that would be awesome if we could just chug a whole bottle of whiskey.
That would not be awesome. That would be death.
All right, let's talk about Infinity War.
Caleb can do that. I'll
So
just
we
call
so
it.
this look
Wait,
at these.
Infinity War.
That's our next one.
That's okay.
Okay, dude, look at this list of movies for Phase 3. Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Homecoming, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War. Wow. And then the next one,
And
the next two are not good.
I was gonna say. So okay. So you had criticisms for Black Panther, not because of Black Panther,
Not
in the
because of
Marvel universe,
itself.
but because it got Best Picture.
Because it was
nominated.
elevated to a status,
Yeah, 'cause
you
I was gonna
have
say-
to then judge it against other movies that are elevated to that status. You
Yeah.
have to judge it against The
I get
Dark
that.
Knight. Okay, everybody and their dog thought The Dark Knight should have been nominated.
Everyone and their dog.
And it wasn't. So therefore, this movie is, and I quote unquote here, better than The Dark
in
Knight.
the Academy's eyes.
In the Academy's
and
eyes,
the people tend to
heck
just
no.
take that. Yeah.
not even close. It didn't do anything for cinema. Like The Dark Knight changed cinema. It changed how action superhero
Yeah.
movies are looked at. It changed how, like, the villains, like Heath Ledger's villain was insane. Like, and then you get Black Panther. It's the one that gets nominated, and you look at it and go, "What did it do better than Black Panther?" And then maybe costume design.
Yeah.
But that's just because of the place they were at, not because of.
Oh, and that's what I liked about it. Is so I liked the costume design. I loved the music.
Yeah,
so
the
it
music
won
was
Best
insane.
Music, didn't it? Or Best Soundtrack?
It did. It won Best Score.
And so I could probably say I agree with that because oh my god,
I'm okay with it. There were a few others that I thought were better.
Maybe
I can't remember now.
As far as the Academy goes, if we're looking at
Sure.
the Marvel universe,
Oh,
I think it's the best soundtrack by a
number
100
one
score.
Number one Marvel soundtrack,
Absolutely.
without a doubt.
And
but
then
Kendrick Lamar got on board with it.
Well, yeah,
which
if
was
Kendrick
huge.
is on board, you can't lose.
But that's what they need to be doing.
I know.
They need to be getting these big time people involved. In now, granted, Kendrick Lamar only works with Black Panther. It doesn't work with other movies based on the kind of music they want and everything. But that's the fact that they reached out to him and got him involved is good.
Yeah.
Do that for other movies. So yes, the score, absolutely. Sound design, set design, like things like that.
I could do a whole
totally
video
for it.
series on the brilliance of Kendrick Lamar, just from a literary perspective.
I really need to listen to his stuff. I haven't actually listened to him.
So
yeah.
Anything before Section 8 or 808 or whatever it is, I don't know. But that one's a really good album to start with. You can listen to the most popular ones from Section 8 and get like the feel of it, and then you'll get to Good Kid, Mad City. Listen to that whole album in order.
Oddly,
listen to How to Pimp a Butterfly in order, and then when you get to Damn, you have to listen to it the first time ever, all at once. I swear, you have to listen to Damn and appreciate it. Just an aside. You have to set aside an hour and a half or however long the
and just
runtime
sit and
is.
listen to it.
Listen to it in order from first track to last track, and then listen to the special edition, which reverses it from last track to first track.
Oh, interesting.
So there's this huge Twitter. Kendrick Lamar is a genius. He's the. I don't like most hip hop music. I think he's a brilliant musician on all fronts because. So he did this whole Twitter hype thing where he's like, I'm releasing 2 albums, not just one.
It was really the same album just twice.
Yeah, it's the same album. But so when you listen to every lyric and every theme and every beat in that album the front way, it tells one story. It tells a story of redemption.
Right.
It goes from the intro and then there's certain songs that have titles. So it goes from like love and then a couple songs, lust and then fear and then God, but when you listen to it in reverse, you start with the song Duckworth, which is the last song, and then you go to God, and then you go down and then lust or love to lust instead of lust to love.
Okay.
So it reverses itself. So it's like he does this brilliant thing where he engages. I think, for me, the best way to understand the intricacies of growing up the way he did, of that culture, that part of African American culture, that struggle, is to listen to his albums, because the first one is the story of redemption, of like how I came through it, how I'm coming out the other side, and the other one is the story of how we have this heritage of the African American church community is really strong, really devout, and yet they have so many struggles, right? And so you listen to that album, and it's a controversial narrative of both sides of their community, of how we climb out of the dust to divinity, or how we descend from divinity to dust. And this isn't a hip hop album, which is almost all explicit.
Dang.
Anyways.
Now, I was gonna say,
Sorry.
So, like, explicit content doesn't bother me in movies at all, like cursing and all that. But for some reason in music, it actually does bother me.
Really?
So I've kind of avoided listening to any of his stuff. But if it's worth it, then I might listen to it.
Oh, you got it.
But
You got it.
if you tell me it's worth it, because I've only heard it from people that I don't necessarily agree with their opinions on life. So if they say listen to it, I'm like, maybe. But if you say listen to it, then I'll check it out.
I love Kendrick Lamar and Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, I do.
Are
like
two
Chance.
of the best musicians. I would put Donald Glover in there. Honestly, I swear, as the top 3, just lyricists.
Dude, Donald Glover is super close.
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, he'll win I don't remember what it's called, but it's where you win a Grammy, a Tony, an Oscar. Is it just those 3? There's another one, an Emmy, maybe. There's like all the awards, and there's only been a few people who've done it. Lady Gaga's actually on her way to do it. She won an Oscar for her song.
Did she win
for Shallow?
For Shallow, yeah.
She's won a Grammy.
Well, yeah.
And then
Emmy?
she needs to win on Broadway. She doesn't.
Broadway.
She hasn't been.
Tony.
She needs a Tony Award. But Childish Gambino, dude, he is like totally on his way. He's good. I would say you would be very, very secure in your bet to put down money that he will win an Oscar before he retires.
Well, and here's the whole thing: is like, even if he's at the point where he could do it, he'll just do it because he's Donald Glover and he'll just be like, "Oh, I could do that. I'm gonna do it next week."
Yep.
I love him.
I think the only one that he would struggle to get would be the Oscar.
Really?
Because
he's a good actor.
He's a great actor, but the Academy is really strict in who they pick.
Yeah.
And now if he does it through music like Lady Gaga did, he'll win no problem. If he tries to get it through acting,
man.
I think he's a good enough actor to get there, but that's still going to be the hardest one for him.
The Awaken My Love album was one of the it came out my senior year of college, and I remember the first song I heard, I was like, Childish Gambino, because so when he was rapping, and he's coming out with a new album, or maybe came out with one, I don't remember, but I was like, okay, he's got really good beats. This is not even related to, but we're gonna go with it.
We have to talk to Infinity War still before the time runs out. That's why I love doing these whiskey reviews, is that we have no time limit. We can just talk, and if people, we probably had like 4 views on the first video.
Maybe
I don't
put
care.
some timestamps in so they can skip this.
That would actually be a good idea, but that takes a lot more time editing. We'll
Dilemmas.
see.
So like,
lazy
because
sometimes.
like Camp was a good album because it's just like, I'm Donald Glover. I was in theater and film, and I'm a great actor, and you all know me from Community. Now watch, I can rap. I can make.
He was in Community?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Did you see that show?
I've seen blips of it, but I didn't.
He was Troy.
I know who was involved in
Troy
it.
and Abed in the morning. He's Troy.
Okay.
And then
I
Abed,
need to see it. My
Abed-
brother
yeah.
said I should watch it too.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
So he's known for that, and then he starts rapping, or maybe, I don't know, my timeline might be mixed up, but he was, at least I knew him, and I feel like most people knew him from his acting, his theater, and his comedy. And then you see Camp, which was a good album, and what Camp was I have pretty good beats, and my lyrics don't necessarily mean anything, but the wordplay is phenomenal.
Okay.
So like, he'll rap about it, but and maybe they'll have a broad topic.
20-minute segment on
I know,
rappers.
Dude, it's so worth it though.
This is a Marvel discussion, guys.
Yeah,
We'll get back.
it all comes back because
It all started because of Black
and
Panther.
Kendrick Lamar. I just have an undying passion for those. Those are my 3 rappers. I'll listen to all other rap and I'll have an appreciation for it in its place. But those 3 I think are timeless.
Yeah.
This is a discussion about timelessness.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
That would be a good discussion though. Which movies are timeless?
Yeah. So, anyways, Childish Gambino, Camp is like good wordplay. This is why he's brilliant. He's so quick with his wordplay. He'll make connections. And then because the internet is brilliant, it's even better than Camp in its beat production. It has some of the best beats, in my opinion. Like, I love some of my favorite beats ever are on because the internet.
Drew is so into this right now.
Some of his wordplay is. I wish I could quote lyrics. I know them by heart, but right now I can't quote them.
Sure.
And then he comes out with Awaken My Love. He goes from 2, and then if you count Cowie, it's 3 hip hop albums to a funk album.
Okay.
No. And I'm not talking like hip hop to like I'm inspired by
I'm
funk.
laughing because like how we got here, I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Keep going.
Here's how we got here.
Oh,
Right here.
that is true.
Yeah, whiskey
Old
review.
granddad. It's
So-
good whiskey, by the way.
So think about this. You are a hip hop artist
Mm-hmm.
in whenever Awaken My Love comes out, 2016,
Sure.
I think, 2016, maybe 2017, maybe early 2017 because that's when I graduated. And everyone knows you as this great actor, comedian, and then pretty good hip hop artist, like really good hip hop artist. And then you come out with this album that is literally released in the 70s but transported to 2016 or 17. It's brilliant. And it's not like, oh, I made a funk album and paid a bunch of people to play good music and I can kind of sing. He hits notes and he does that shrill like funk scream, like the really high falsetto, just like shrill scream perfectly. Better than any funk musician. It's brilliant.
I'll look into him because I think
Oh my
I would
God.
enjoy that kind of music.
Oh, it's so good.
All right,
Oh.
let's talk about Infinity War.
Yeah. Put Donald Glover in more movies, guys. He's gonna be Simba, but we need more of Donald.
You don't
Glover.
need to tell them to do that. Donald Glover is going to
Atlanta,
be
he
in
produced some of the
so
best
many
hip hop and
movies.
funk albums. He wrote and directed and stars in Atlanta, which is brilliant.
He wrote Atlanta
Uh-huh.
and directed it? I didn't know.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if maybe he didn't direct it,
Sure.
but he wrote it.
Yeah, usually they don't direct full TV shows.
Okay.
Like, that's usually 5 or 6 directors.
Yeah.
They work
Yeah. I was
around.
gonna say, okay. But he wrote. He was the writer.
Wow.
And he's a writer.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Donald Glover is timeless as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, sorry. Sidetrack.
Now, is he related to the other Glover, the actor?
Yeah, I think so. His dad was an actor. Yeah.
Okay. The one that was in Lethal Weapon.
Well, that's one of the maybe I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember. I know his dad's an actor and his dad was a successful.
I could be so wrong on that. I'm just not going to
Wait,
look it up.
real quick. Look it up.
Okay.
Because so here's the thing. The reason Donald Glover and these are his words in his rap, not because I'm interpreting it as a white person. His words in his rap is that he's not rapping about important things because he was a rich black kid, you know.
Right.
And so, but he makes fun of that fact. It's in because the internet. One fact. What song is it? One of the songs in that album.
I couldn't name a single one of his songs.
It's okay.
I don't think I've ever heard him rap.
What?
I don't listen.
Oh my god.
In high school, I would have listened to that kind of music. Currently, I'm just not in that phase. But I might get back into it. But I'm looking up.
I will show you. I'll teach you. I'll teach you my ways. His ways.
His ways. All right. So then, actually, I'm gonna look up right now if his dad is.
We gotta know. If anyone's watching this part, first off, thank you for sticking with this crap. But. And also, our natural light has changed by now.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna go
that's
check
okay.
the next one.
Yeah, Donald Glover is a retired postal worker.
So his dad?
He is not, despite rumors, related to actor Danny Glover. He has a younger brother, Stephen Glover. So I thought Danny Glover. No, you're fine. It's plenty bright. Don't worry about changing it. Yeah, dude. So this new setup right now, I want to tell you guys. Drew got some new lights. So we're shooting this it is now 8:00 at night. Before we had to shoot it in the daytime, so we had daylight coming in the windows and make it work. We got some lights. It's looking good.
I was really poor last year, and my tax return helped me buy these lights.
So he's
Thank
not
you.
related to that actor. That's what that was saying.
I swear he's related to an actor, though.
Maybe his brother, maybe somebody down the road, but his dad is not Danny Glover, who I thought. Anyway.
But I know his parents were successful.
I want to talk Infinity War.
Okay, go to Infinity War, and then we can talk about our theories. And then
Yes.
Can you see what our runtime is right there?
No. You could go check on the camera. All right. So Infinity War, which is the first part of the end of these first three phases. What are we at time-wise? Hour 18? Perfect. That's not as long as I thought it was, actually. The last one was 140.
Sounds about right.
So if we can get 130, 140,
we're
good. Infinity War. I'm just repeating myself now. I've realized that, hey, quit touching my drinks here.
Infinity War. You start, because I have lots of thoughts on this. I've watched Infinity War before,
Infinity War.
Like
yeah, I've seen it 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
No, maybe just twice.
I watched it recently,
I watched it once in theaters, and I watched it about a month ago on Netflix.
Okay.
It's the end of the first 3 phases.
Yeah.
All the 3 people
But Endgame is in phase 3.
Endgame is phase 3 still.
Technically.
Yes.
Are they going to do it phase 4?
Oh yeah, that's what Captain Marvel starts phase 4. She is like the leader of the new Avengers.
Gotcha.
Which is Captain Marvel.
So this is the beginning of the end of phase 3, and really probably the technical end of phase 3.
Yeah. Well, I think people when they watch these, they're gonna kind of go. If you watched them, you would watch Infinity War 1, Infinity War 2, or Endgame.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even care about Captain Marvel or what's the other movie? Ant-Man and Wasp. Like, even though they came out after Infinity War.
Wait, Ant-Man and Wasp did too? Wow.
Yeah. That's on my bottom couple movies.
I haven't seen the full
movie. The last ones we have are Infinity War, Ant-Man and Wasp, Captain Marvel, Endgame. Infinity War. I keep trying to talk about this movie. For some reason, I can't. I think this movie
Donald Glover. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about Eminem.
I watched 8 Mile. No, I'm just kidding.
Great movie. Okay, well, actually, great soundtrack.
Infinity War.
I'm
keeping you on track.
I think there's about 3 really good points in this movie, really good sections, and I think there's about a couple really weak sections, unfortunately.
All right, walk me through it.
The best part of Infinity War is Thor getting his new weapon. Absolutely.
That's really good.
Him and Rocket and Peter Dinklage, the giant dwarf, which is hilarious. On getting at him taking the power of the sun, you're like, this is the Thor that we've been building up to.
Yeah, you realize he can take the weight of a sun.
Yeah, and this is kind of like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That whole scene, because they had a goal. A lot of the other storylines in the movie don't have a purpose. But that one has a very distinct purpose. He's going to get his new weapon done. He'll do whatever it takes to get it because without it, they can't win.
Literally.
So that's that storyline. That's the best part of that movie, is him getting that. The second best part of that movie is Thanos. He's a great villain.
Yes. He's the best villain in the Marvel Universe.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
And the reason... okay, they've been building up to him for so long. We've been hearing all these
Since
things.
Avengers 1 at least.
And actually, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably the best introduction to him that we get because Ronan is working for him. And he goes and he confronts him and says... And he pretty much betrays Thanos.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
Thanos knows he's not going to get involved in petty squabbling. If Ronan betrays him, he'll deal with him later. He's not going to... And that kind of told you, okay, Thanos is above all of that. He's way more powerful. And then he fights the Hulk one-on-one in the beginning of Infinity War and beats him.
Yeah.
Which I still kind of have an issue with.
Well, he beats him, but he didn't kill him.
No, he doesn't kill him, but he beats him. Like, the Hulk loses a fight, which Hulk doesn't do. I mean, he kind of did in Ragnarok to
I was going to say he does.
But
he never dies or gets injured.
No, but he like completely got destroyed by Thanos without the gauntlet. He didn't use any of his power, and he still beat him.
He had the gauntlet.
Yeah, well,
he
didn't
have all the stones.
He didn't use it though. He didn't use any of the power that the gauntlet gave him.
That's true.
And he still defeated him. So you're like, okay, this guy is business. His minions are super powerful, which I love.
Yeah.
They have magic, they have all this stuff, which I would have actually liked to see more of like how they got their power, but that's they already have 50,000 characters in the movie.
We can't go
So
more.
Thanos was the second best thing in that movie. And then I think Gamora and her relationship with Thanos was the third best thing.
Yeah.
Because that scene where she goes and the Soul Stone and she's laughing because he doesn't love anything and you find out he truly does love her. That is like emotional. And
so
I was
that
like,
is a
oh, dang.
world-changing moment for the Marvel Universe.
I'm opening my second one.
Oh, you're
good.
So that is my favorite part of Thanos as a character. I think he was, in my book, he's the best part of that movie. Because he's the only villain, I swear, that he's the only villain that you can relate to. And I can relate, that people can relate to. Because, so Thanos is, so comic books, right? We talked about this, are inherently flat. Like there's the good guy and he's very clearly good. And there's the bad guy and he's always bad. And everyone agrees he's bad. Thanos is the first time in the Marvel Universe that to some degree, the bad guy, you're like, I get it.
Yeah.
Because like, so
they tried to do that in Black Panther. Okay.
That's true. No,
they did.
I actually agree.
To
I
an
think
extent.
they did a good job in Black Panther. I like that.
Unfortunately, so you're with Killmonger. At the first half of the movie, you're like,
You're like,
this
I
guy's
agree with you.
awesome.
Yeah, he's
I
cool.
agree with why he's a bad guy. Makes sense. And then the second half of the movie, he just becomes some crazy.
He gets too deranged too quick.
Too deranged too
I
quick.
agree.
Exactly. And I was just like, oh, you ruined it because the reason I liked him was because he had a backstory. He had a reason for doing his things and he wanted to take over. I was like, I'm in. And then the second he gets all the power, just burns all the stuff so nobody else can be Black Panther. And I'm like, oh, you are just stupid. Like,
yeah,
it just ruined it. Whereas Thanos isn't that way though. Like,
yeah, Thanos has a mission. So Thanos clearly portrays the reality of all historical villains. Thanos portrays the reality of Hitler, and we paint Hitler as this guy who's like, I'm gonna wake up and do evil, but Hitler thought what he was doing was good.
right.
And that's like the human dilemma of like, how do we deal with
And
evil?
that's why most villains in movies are sucky because they don't do that.
They don't. They're like, I know this is bad, and I still
They
want
start
to
doing
do it.
stupid stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's bad, obviously.
Yeah,
Like,
whereas Thanos is like the only way. Thanos literally believes the only way for life to continue and thrive is to kill half of it.
yeah, and it's honestly, in that world, he's not totally wrong. No, I'm getting there. He explains this in the movie.
Keep going.
Because he saw what happened to his planet because of overpopulation.
Yes.
It couldn't survive. So he knew that at some point, the Earth and all these other planets are going to do the same thing. So you must thin the herd. Okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. But you see...
But you see how he gets there.
It's like, if it's kind of that the ends justify the means kind of thing. Which, if you ever think that, the ends should never justify the means.
Ah.
The means should never be wrong.
Of...
Yeah. So But that's a true
Utilitarianism.
example
It's
of...
utilitarianism.
Is that what it is?
That's what it's
Okay.
called. The ends. What actions can we do now that in their end will create the most happiness for the most people?
Yeah, and that's not right.
No.
If
I would
the actions
disagree.
you're doing now are wrong.
Yeah, and so that's where,
Because I understand what you mean. Like, and obviously, if Thanos had an idea of whatever to get to the best, but he's killing people to get there. So
Yes,
what's
exactly.
the point? Like, killing half the population. And you think of that, like, there's actually been a lot of books I've read, like fantasy books, that bring this up. This is like a common theme in fantasy books.
I'm going to do a Drew thing real quick.
Do it.
This is the common philosophical dilemma of the modern age in stories like this. Because it's inarguable that every story like this, that's an archetypal mythological story. I'm not talking about like a low level movie, not low level in the sense that they're bad, but low level in that the stakes aren't high. Like Good Will Hunting.
Sure.
There's a lot of human and moral dilemmas in Good Will Hunting.
Absolutely.
But it's not universal and cosmic to the entire reality
Right.
of all things. Whereas every single Marvel movie is, and every single Star Wars movie is. Those all come from Lord of the Rings, which are anti-modern. And they're bringing up the philosophies of the past of virtue ethics, and that there is real good cultivated in every second. Whereas the common modernist philosophy is, at its best, utilitarianism, which is the most good for the most people. The ends justify the means. So most Marvel movies, most movies like this that are like taking these grand, sweeping, heroic, and mythological narratives, tend to have this debate of like, is it utilitarianism, like the ends justify the means, or is it virtue ethics?
Interesting.
And Thanos is the same as Voldemort. It's
Yeah,
utilitarianism. The
Well-
most good for the most people. Even
really what Voldemort was about?
well, yeah,
Really?
100%.
Boy, I need to rewatch those.
You really do.
I feel like I
No,
should
no.
read them.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should read the
But
books and then
Part
watch
of me
the
is like
movies.
very proud that I stopped reading them.
Why?
Because I
Oh.
don't think she's a great author. I think she's okay. I think she's very, very good, but she is not on the level of Tolkien, and people always put her on that level.
Okay.
But
she's
that's
different.
another story.
That's another. So
this is also buzzed Kayla.
I was gonna say J.K. Rowling also wasn't writing to adults. Tolkien was explicitly writing
That's
to adults.
also my problem. I don't like kids' books.
Yeah,
and young
Harry
adult
Potter
novels.
was supposed to be a young adult novel.
The only person that I think pulls off young adult really well that I've read is Brandon Sanderson.
You're such a fanboy.
He is so good. If I could ever meet Brandon Sanderson, I would feel like an idiot because he's super smart. But I would just like thank him for like inspiring me in every possible way. Like,
I've never read a Brandon Sanderson book.
well, that's
So-
gonna change soon. Anyway,
Will it?
let's get back to Thanos. Yeah, it will, because I'm gonna give you. I have the Mistborn trilogy on like the actual books. Believe it or not.
He's about to do to Brandon Sanderson what I did with Childish Gambino.
Right, I'm gonna talk for 40 minutes on Brandon
40.
Sanderson.
I bet it was 5.
No, I'm getting back to Thanos. But yes, that is why Thanos worked as such a powerful villain, and
He
everybody
was
bought in.
relatable.
Because think about all the other
That
villains.
tear, bro.
All of the other. Oh yeah,
That tear.
all the other villains.
Look at me, camera. That tear.
Think about all the other villains. Excuse me. All the Marvel movies. I can't stop burping.
Well, all of them were just like
Think about
blatantly
the
evil.
top couple. Okay, we
Yeah.
have Killmonger. We have Loki, who's clearly the biggest villain before Thanos.
Yeah.
But what Loki was doing was not right, and you knew it was wrong, and he was just a liar.
And he knew, but he was
And
a deceiver,
he knew.
and that's his character.
And it worked. But
Well, yeah.
Thanos is so like his beliefs. He believes what he's doing is right, and it's obvious that he believes that. And you almost buy into it. Have you ever seen American History X?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Wait until I say the whole thing before you judge what I'm about to say. So it's a movie about like neo-Nazis, and Edward Norton is a neo-Nazi and all this stuff. The first 20 minutes of that movie, you were almost convinced that what he's doing is right, because it's so well told, and you're like, man, you know, he has some good points about these racial things and all this stuff. But by the end, you're like, what was I thinking? He was so wrong. And that's what makes that movie so good, is that you start believing what the villain believes, And then by the end, you're like, oh, but I was so wrong. And that's what happens with Infinity War. You actually are almost like, you know what? Other than I know that I'm not supposed to root for Thanos, I kind of am. But then you start seeing your friends die.
And
you're like,
yeah.
oh no.
It's a great discourse on how that actually happens in reality.
It's so
like, how
true.
did Hitler come to power?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's so good about that villain. And that's why I'm like, the Russo brothers are the best thing that could have happened to the Marvel movies.
Yeah. Did they do Infinity War?
They did Captain America, Winter Soldier. They did Civil War. They did Infinity War, and they're doing Endgame.
So yeah, it's like the top. That's like at least the top
4.
5.
It's gonna be 4 of the
Maybe
top 8.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But they knew what they were doing with that character, and they made us love Thor or Thanos. I mean, they made us love him, but want him to die. But also, like, man, he's kind of right.
It's so funny because when he shows that emotion for Gamora,
yeah,
and he's
that scene. Honestly, that scene. Without that scene, we don't feel this way at all about Thanos.
Oh, 100%. And what it is, so he sympathizes to, I'm going to get really meta-narrative, historical, philosophical with you.
Oh, dear.
He sympathizes to the part of us that's been cultivated by Judeo-Christian values, that I'm going to sacrifice what I love most for the sake of everyone else.
That's why we love fantasy movies.
Yes.
And fantasy stories. Like, why do we love Lord of the Rings? Because Aragorn's willing to sacrifice himself.
His own self. Yeah.
All these characters, and you see it in all the movies. Lord of the Rings is my favorite, so that's why I pointed out. But
yeah, well, it's
all
the
of
best.
them, they're willing to sacrifice themselves. And we think in ourselves, we're like, man, I would love to die saving the people I love.
Yeah.
We think that in our heads.
That's a Jesus thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what it says in the Bible. It's like, those who die for their brother. And so it's like, oh, that would just be so powerful.
Yes.
But yet, we're not given, at least in Western culture, that is not a thing we're used to. Actually physically sacrificing ourselves for other people.
Yep.
So we see that and go, I want that.
It's an ideal we have.
It is, but we don't
we're
actually
still
like
tempted by yeah. Well, and so I think with Thanos, that's what makes us sympathize with him. But then you see the absolute degradation of that same thing by the way he treats her sister. What's her sister's name? Gamora's sister, the cyborg lady.
No idea.
Which on one hand, Thanos is a brilliant reflection of us. Because if you're a normal human being, you love Gamora because she's pretty even though she's green, and she's nice, and she's the perfect amount of sassy.
Right.
And
she can beat anyone up.
Yeah. If you're a guy, you're like, you're the hottest green alien I've ever seen, and
right.
you agree with Star-Lord, you agree with Peter. And if you're a girl, you're like, if I was a green alien, I'd want to be like her. But then her sister, we're all like, wow, she's kind
Nebula.
Yeah, Nebula.
Yeah.
You're like, she's kind of mean. She's not even fully human. She has a lot of pain that's inhibiting her from feeling.
There's nothing to like about her,
she's
right?
just mean and bad. So when Thanos is being awful to her, we're like, well, that's bad because you're being awful. But also, I mean, like, look at her. She's kind of bad. It's like she's not someone that you would want to be nice to. But when he does that to his other daughter, he's showing himself to still be corruptible. And that's why would he be in a place to where he could be sober enough to judge if this is the right thing to do?
Yeah. And
but
actually,
that's what makes him approachable as a villain.
Oddly,
that's us.
That scene where she's being tortured and like she's all taken apart.
Yeah.
Nebula is, and
yeah.
Gamora's there and she gives up the Soul Stone. That actually was one of my biggest problems with the movie.
Really?
Because Gamora is so, like, if she sets her mind to something, she's not going to change.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite buy the fact that she would give up the Soul Stone for her sister that she actually didn't love. Now, I can...
But I was going to say, that's the thing. She's committed until it's someone she loves.
Right. And
I think she does love her sister. You even see that in Guardians 2.
Yes. And I can see that. And, like, it worked. I just don't think they quite executed it right. Because I can look back and go, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't buy that the Gamora that said, shoot me if he gets me, is the same one that goes, the Soul Stone's here because you're torturing her.
Yeah.
I just didn't quite buy it. It was, unfortunately, that was like the one major moment that I was like, that should have hit me hard. And I think it was because of the torture I didn't really buy. Because it was some like...
she just reassembled herself.
Yeah, it was fine. Exactly.
If you
she was like okay afterward. And I was like, she should have been like melted in half.
Yeah. I was going to say, quick drunken script fix number 2.
Oh, yeah. What was the first one?
We did one last episode, didn't we?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I think meant this today. I was like,
No.
am I really that gone?
No, you're not. I think, correct us if you're one of the 4 who watched. In Whiskey Reviews 1, we kind of did this with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I know we did. We 100% did.
We did.
Because that's like the whole podcast is how do you fix Star Wars 8.
Right.
If you want to make that moment in Infinity War more powerful, Nebula should have been permanently maimed.
Absolutely.
From the torture.
Absolutely.
And, well, you see later in that same movie,
And she should have been feeling sorry about not giving it up sooner. Because she didn't give it up.
Yeah.
Nebula gets maimed, and then she gives up and realizes if I had done that sooner, she wouldn't have been hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been powerful.
If I would have done that sooner, my sister wouldn't have died.
Exactly. But
Yes.
instead, Nebula's fine. And I don't really buy that mechanical beings feel pain anyway.
Well, she's only half mechanical, though.
Yeah, but
Right.
she's literally in pieces.
Yeah.
So she's like all
there's
pieces
parts
except
of
for
her
her
that are
brain.
organic.
Her brain is like organic, but
Yeah.
her body isn't. So I'm like, I don't buy that she can't just shut off her pain receptors. You know, like what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't quite
Her
work.
character is
to
a
me.
brilliant discourse on the blending of humanity with machinery. Anyways.
Yeah. So okay, let me get to a few things I don't like about Infinity War. So I
And
mentioned
then,
that.
And then Endgame. And then done.
Yeah. Oh, we still have Captain Marvel, dude.
We got to brush over that. You're going to go Last Jedi on that movie. We got to just let you go.
Okay. Quickly, Infinity War. Because Infinity War is the most important Marvel movie we've ever had. So that's why, because it's ending all these main characters. Like,
Yeah.
well, Endgame is going to end them, but Infinity War is the beginning of it. Anyway, one of the main reasons one of the big problems I had was they didn't, the whole Wakanda scene was just terrible.
Really?
I don't think Thanos should have even come to Earth. He needed the thing from Vision.
He needed
But the whole way that played out, I didn't buy it. They're like, oh, we got to let down the shield. No, how about you just open a little crack and fight them all right there? But instead, they just kind of like drop the shield and fight them all, and like somebody sneaks in. It was all a muddled mess, and I was like, I don't care about this. Get back to Thor and his hammer axe thing. Like, there was no goal of that. It was just like, I don't know, stall them.
Well, and that's what it was, yeah.
And
Stall.
it just that part just really didn't work for me. And you could kind of see it in the way it was executed if you rewatch it. You're like, yeah, they definitely this was kind of forced. Like it was almost like they needed to have this battle at Wakanda for the sake of it being Wakanda, so they could have Black Panther and all those people back in it. It was like, it makes sense because that's the most guarded place on Earth and all that, but it just didn't. I don't know. It seemed so fake to me.
The reason they were actually there is because Black Panther's sister.
Yeah, that's
what's
a
her
whole
name?
other story. Oh my gosh, I can't stand her.
Really?
Okay,
Well, her's a character, maybe.
we're gonna jump back to talk about Black Panther for
Oh,
just
God.
a second. The reason I think I don't buy it, she's like 16 years old,
But it's Wakanda forever.
and I'm supposed to assume that just because of vibranium, or is that what it's called?
Vibranium, yeah.
She's now so smart that she's a neurosurgeon, the best engineer in the world. All these things that Tony
Yeah.
Stark is like 1/5 of, she's all of those,
Oh.
and she's 16.
so
No,
this-
that's not possible.
See, I bought it, though.
I didn't.
So
not one bit.
This comes back to how you and I approach story. So, for me, when I approach story, if something happens, I go, okay, that happened, and if that was important enough to happen, what's it saying to me? So in Black Panther, she's 16 and she's a genius.
Right.
What's that saying to me? And it's saying something about her environment has cultivated it to where she can be there at her age, which is unbelievable to me in my place at my age.
Yeah.
So there's something special about Wakanda. Well, what's the movie tell us? The thing that's special is their massive amount of vibranium. Well, and then compare that to the rest of the universe. In the first Avengers, the only thing that thwarts Thor is Captain America's shield. And what's it made of?
Vibranium.
Vibranium. So if something happens, what's it telling you?
Interesting. Didn't think of that. But I just think she's a little too smart. I mean, honestly, I totally bought in until the neuroscience, like fixing a brain. And I was like, okay.
And fixing a brain that's a mix of Jarvis, Tony Stark.
Yes. Like,
what's his Bruce? What is that?
Banner.
Banner.
Bruce Banner.
Yeah, Bruce Banner.
That's exactly it. It was like,
And
that
the
doesn't make sense. Like,
stone.
I can buy into her being some crazy inventor.
Well,
Or crazy this, crazy.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't be all all of those things at once. Like, you could, but you're 16. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
But if
okay,
she is that
anyway.
thing, it's telling us that vibranium
Okay.
is powerful enough.
But how? What does it do? Is it like, do you get smarter by touching it?
Perhaps.
Then why is
It's
she
an
the
element.
only smart one?
Well, 'cause she's
Why is
probably-
everybody else so stupid in
she's-
Wakanda? Okay,
She's
moving
exposed to it the most.
on. Whatever. Okay,
Anyways,
then
I'll
Ant-Man and
stop
Wasp was
apologizing.
released. Ant-Man and Wasp doesn't need to be watched, except for the fact that they might go into the quantum realm for time travel for Endgame.
Except for the fact that Ant-Man is going to go up Thanos' butt.
It was such a terrible movie. I mean, it was bad.
I swear to you, I was doing podcast interviews. I was editing podcasts. It was on in the background. Something Ant-Man, shrink, something scientist, shrink, something Paul Rudd. I love Paul Rudd to death.
Oh, yeah,
Paul
and
Rudd's my favorite comedy
and
actor.
Michael Pena, the
Yeah.
Hispanic, his friend, the Hispanic guy.
Oh, he's great.
so funny.
Can he summarize the beginning?
Exactly.
Please.
Please just like summarize all the
Yeah.
movies, just him.
So Michael Pena, Paul Rudd, you guys are great. Ant-Man, I fell asleep. I woke up the next day and Netflix had streamed like 8 things, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
What, did I
Then
even
we
watch
get to
that?
Captain Marvel, and I will try and make this short. There's only one movie that I think I will hate more in my entire life than Captain Marvel.
Is
and that's
it
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's The Last Jedi.
I hate Captain Marvel so much.
But don't you hate them for the same reason?
But no, actually no.
Oh, okay.
Well, a lot of it, yes. I hate Captain Marvel for every reason. It's not well made.
You keep going on that.
The story is not good. The marketing for that movie was pushed in a direction that I was like, I don't want that. And then I don't know. I watched it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have anybody who says they go to a movie without a biased opinion is lying. Everybody has a biased view of something. No. Yes. So I went in thinking, okay, I'm gonna try and be as unbiased as possible and enjoy this movie. And Captain Marvel's just a bad movie by itself. Regardless if you don't even know what it's about and you just go watch it. Now, if you watch it by itself without seeing the other Avengers, maybe it's a fine movie. But if you've seen all the Avengers movies, what are you doing? Should I try that?
If you want.
Oh, okay, sure.
It's sparkling wine.
Oh, nice. If you see all the Marvel movies and you see Captain Marvel, even if you have no idea about the feminist, ridiculous marketing that went on, you can still see it and go, that movie's not good.
Yeah.
Okay. I did a movie review of it. I do YouTube reviews, just like normal reviews, not hour and 40-minute talks. And I was struggling to find anything positive about that movie. Anything. Yeah. Because this is movie 21 of this series. You can no longer, if this had come out in phase 1, okay, I would have been totally on board. This isn't phase 1. We're at movie 20.
It's phase 3 after Infinity War. We're all looking forward to Endgame.
After Infinity War. And then you're telling me that, and then she gets all her power and everything in one movie and becomes more powerful than any of the Avengers we've seen. Well, now, granted, we're not guaranteed that she's more powerful than Thor, but everybody says she is. And, like, all the comics say she is.
And that comes from where she's actually from, not
And I
not
totally
human.
am okay with her being more powerful than Thor. Not in one movie.
She should have had at least 2.
That bothered me. I was like,
yeah.
She got all her powers and everything in one movie? And then my least favorite thing about the entire movie, least favorite thing, she's talking with her friend who's a pilot. And she says, I need you to go up there and fight with me. And she says, I can't. I have a child. I need to stay here and protect her.
But her daughter wanted her to go.
Her daughter and Captain Marvel convince her to leave on a suicide mission.
Yeah.
That bothered me. I was like, you know how much more powerful it would have been if she had said, no, my family is more important than anything to me. I'm supposed to protect my daughter. I'm not going to leave. Oh, man, I would have been like, that's awesome. Because she wasn't leaving to protect the world. She was leaving to protect some alien that just existed that she didn't know about. You know, and she left her daughter for that. And it really bothered me. And there was a lot of those moments in that movie that it was just like, what are you doing? And it was so political. And that movie is not going to be good in 10 years.
So that's why. So your whole timeless thing.
Oh,
I agree.
it's one of the worst.
I think that it probably won't be a timeless movie. I did like it though. I liked it.
Oh, I hate that movie.
I'm gonna approach it again
The meta
the
narrative.
meta-narrative. It's so important.
This is good. This is Drew meta narrative Lowen. Oh, I can't stand movies that just like the meta narrative is. And I understand where you're gonna go with it.
So important.
I'm okay with it. It's how they get there is so bad.
The execution is just as important. Yes.
And actually, I don't totally agree. Tell me about what you think the meta narrative is about.
So,
I don't think I quite agree on all of it.
So I'm having to recall this movie.
Well, the fact that you have to recall it came out a month ago, dude.
No, I'm thinking because it hasn't been in my forefront of my mind.
But it should be.
No,
if it was actually good, it would have been. Like,
okay,
there are
but what
movies-
I'm saying is I've lived a month of life of doing a bunch of other stuff, so I haven't. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyways, so first off, Brie Larson is attractive, so you lose. No, I'm just kidding.
She acts like a brick wall.
Yes. Okay.
Actually, one of my biggest issues was the direction.
Yeah.
The director that directed the movie didn't know how to get the performance she needed out of Brie Larson. Brie Larson's an Oscar-winning actress.
Yeah, she's really good.
She can be really
And
good.
who she was in that movie could have been good if the rest of the movie was different.
The whole
a little bit.
her big struggle, and I use quotes there, was that she's too emotional, but she was a brick wall and never emotional.
And she didn't know where she came from. And I think when she found out, that should have been a little bit more emotional.
But we shouldn't have known where she came from before she did.
I agree.
We knew where she came from.
Yes.
We're like, okay, so why? This is boring. I don't want to watch her figure out stuff we already know. We should have been discovering it at the same time as she was.
That's where I agree with you. So, quick script fix number 2 of this episode. Brie Larson should know as much as she knows, but we should also only know what she knows.
Here's a better script fix. Get rid of her and hire an actress that can actually have some charisma. Because even Brie Larson, like, she's a good actress. She doesn't have charisma. She doesn't. But nothing I've ever seen about her shows charisma. And we have been cultivated through 20 movies that charisma is what we want to watch. Iron Man, Captain America, and Chris Evans.
Even Thor.
Thor.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth is super charismatic. Like, all these people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Peter Quill, like Chris Pratt, like all of them are. Paul Rudd, like seriously, everyone is charismatic and fun. We like liking them. We do not like liking Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but maybe that's the point.
Well, yeah, but it shouldn't be, because you know they weren't going for that, because the way her dialogue is, and she's trying to be funny, and she like winks and like, what? It doesn't work. Anyway, sorry, I'm really interrupting you. Keep going.
So, what I like about Captain Marvel is it almost seems like it's going to be like Black Panther, and that it's localized. But then it introduces this entirely different planet, a different race, which felt like almost Star Trek to me. Like
it totally felt like Star
Trek.
Trek.
So Star Trek-y.
Yeah.
And I love that. But it's something that Thor hasn't encountered, something that Peter Quill hasn't encountered, and yet it's more important for her to fight that battle that we get introduced to at the end than it is to be there for Thanos. That's huge. That's huge. And yes, it wasn't executed correctly. I'll give you that. But that's huge. And then the second thing.
To me, real quickly, if you can't execute it, it was pointless.
Yeah, but you're a film major.
No, but it doesn't come across on screen that way.
No, I agree.
And that's the thing. Like,
I agree.
Why
The
was The
narrative
Last
that-
Jedi so like
The
polar
narrative
opposite? People
is
either
in
loved
the
it or hated it
text.
because they didn't execute it right.
The narrative is in the text, like the script, the raw data that's there, but the way that it all comes together doesn't lend itself to most people interpreting it that way. Like for me to view movies the way I do, I have to do a lot of extra work. Because I'm trying to think, what did the director want? What did the writer say? What's the actual like meat of like story behind it, trying to reveal to us, you know?
And I think there's some movies that really works. Okay, did you ever see Apocalypse Now?
No, but it's on Netflix.
1980s
like,
movie.
yeah.
It's some people would put it in their top 5 of all time
Yeah.
greatest movies. Okay, Francis Ford Coppola, the guy that did The Godfather, insanely good movie.
Yeah.
You have to look at what he was, the meta narrative. That movie doesn't work if you don't understand what the backstory of the whole thing is.
Mhm.
But the movie was made for that reason on purpose.
Well, I think
And
all movies.
Captain
have that
Marvel's
in mind.
not. I guarantee you they were like, we need these things to be covered. And they just kind of threw them together. And you see what they were trying to get to, but they don't know how to do it.
It's not executed well.
But
So
it's not
whoever's
just executed. It's, in theory, what you're talking about works some of the time. But other times, sorry, this actually really bothers me. There are some movies that some people are like, man, but if you think about what they're thinking about, I'm like, it doesn't matter. The movie isn't about the thought behind it. It's about what they showed you on the screen. It's a movie.
No, yeah, because that's the base level of how
And
they
so,
convey the story.
yes, that is the execution, but it's also like, that is the most important thing of a movie. How
Yeah.
do you execute it? And if they don't execute Captain Marvel right, I don't care what their thought was. It doesn't matter. They didn't execute it.
They're not going to be able to convey it unless the audience does a lot of extra work. And,
Right,
you
and
can't
some
expect
movies,
them to.
some movies it works because
Yeah.
the kind of movie it is, or maybe even building up to it, that was like known.
Yeah,
But Captain Marvel's a freaking Marvel
it's a
movie.
superhero movie. I agree. No,
Like,
I agree.
They can't have all this stuff where I have to really think about what they're thinking about, even though they didn't execute it right. Like, no, it doesn't work for me.
So, but to go back to here's the things I
interrupting you,
liked.
but whatever.
No, it's okay. It's a good point. Here's what I liked. I liked that the person you thought
You like that she was hot. Okay, moving on.
Oh, you're not wrong, but I liked that one, the big green gross-looking alien actually was not the villain.
I actually totally agree with you on that.
Yes, because so if you're watching a superhero movie based on the comic book, which is mostly flat, the girl that's pretty with blonde hair, that's white and American, is going to be the good guy. And the green, gross, super foreign alien with a weird accent,
Dude, alien lives matter, man.
oh my gosh, that's going to be the bad guy. But
Yeah.
in this movie, Brie Larson is the bad guy. If she was true to her people, because she's not actually human, right?
Right. Well, she is.
Isn't, whatever.
She
but
was.
was, whoever.
Spoiler alert.
Anyways.
Sorry, I'm very tipsy now.
Wow, that's gone.
Yep, I chugged that
Yeah,
fast.
it's good, huh?
It was very good.
It's so social. Elderflower apple.
What we're gonna start
sparkling
doing,
sake wine.
we should start advertising what we drink.
And then
Like,
they'll
because
sponsor
this
us.
isn't monetized. I don't care.
Yeah.
We're just gonna start telling you what we drink, and you guys can enjoy it as well.
So this is sparkling sake, and it also says wine because sake is rice wine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really good.
But
It's also gluten free.
Social.
Social.
And then the liquor we had, or the bourbon, was Old Grandad. And Old Grandad has two types. They have a 114 proof, which is super strong. And they have a 95 proof, I think. And that one I think is actually better in terms of taste.
Yeah.
So look into it. Old Grandad, great whiskey. And then, of
Yeah.
course, Coors. Which
And of course Coors. Not because it's
only because it's the biggest company beer-wise in the world.
so short aside before I return to my cap.
Okay,
Captain
we gotta
Marvel.
hurry.
Yeah, I know.
This is like a 3-hour
If
deal.
you're talking about cheaper beers, Coors is the best. Anyways, Captain Marvel. So the villain wasn't who you thought it was going to be.
Man, I'm all about Steel Reserve, dude.
God. The villain wasn't who you thought it was going to be.
Right. But actually,
I like that.
Oh, you say that, but I totally thought going into this movie, I was like, Jude Law's the villain, right? That's what I thought from the second I saw him. I was like, oh yeah, from the commercial, he's the villain.
Well, only because as an actor, he's always the villain.
Yeah, but they played it. They totally told you he was the villain from day one.
I didn't watch the
I
trailer,
didn't-
so I can't.
But even from the beginning of the movie, I didn't buy he was her friend.
So I got that, and I understood that, and I thought in my mind, honestly, that he might be the villain. But then when you see the green aliens and me watching a Marvel movie, I'm like, well, the green aliens are going to be the villain.
Well, I just thought he was like maybe just
wasn't-
overzealous
Yeah,
and was
I
wanting to
agree.
like kill them all off. And it was like, okay, back off.
And
But
well, that's our
when it became the big moment of reveal where he was the bad guy, I was like,
it wasn't as shocking as it should have
no,
been.
I was like,
I
yes,
agree. I agree.
he's the bad guy. Like,
Well,
he's
yeah, it made
he's
sense.
talking with Ronan at one point. Like,
It made sense.
it didn't quite. They didn't do it right. They should have shocked you and been like, oh my goodness.
Execution.
So they should have had not cast Jude Law. They should have cast somebody that we know is a good guy.
Yeah.
Traditionally in film, because that's a thing, and then we would have been bought in as, oh, he's a good guy, and then he becomes the bad guy,
Liam
not
Neeson.
the other way around.
I don't know. I just thought, who's the person that's always the good guy with angst? Liam Neeson.
It's hard to
Or
decide
someone
now
else.
because Marvel's taken like every actor ever.
I know. Yeah.
So
Is Liam Neeson in a Marvel movie?
no, not yet.
Oh.
When he does, he's gonna say the line of, "I don't know who you are, but I will find you and I will kill you."
So okay. So but
Thanos.
regardless.
You sent me that meme where it was John Wick.
Oh yeah.
And it like shows him
Thanos
holding
kills
his
his
dog,
dog,
and
yeah.
his dog is dissolving from Thanos, and he's going after Thanos, and Thanos is toast. Like, so great. I totally agree.
If
By the way, that
Marvel
comes
has
out
given us
in a month.
nothing,
I'm just
if
saying.
Marvel has given us nothing, it's given us memes.
Great memes.
So okay. So yeah, regardless, execution, like we knew the real villain based on
We
typecasting.
still have to get to theories, dude. Oh
Ugh.
my gosh.
Okay.
We're ranting bad today.
Okay, you're ranting.
Yeah,
I'm apologizing.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Does anyone watch this whole thing?
I don't know, and I don't really
You
care.
can check that, right?
Can you?
Yeah, I'll show you how.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sure one person did.
Your wife.
So thanks. Thanks for watching the whole thing, guys. Appreciate
Thanks, Jenna.
it. Yeah.
Thanks for supporting your husband. You're a good wife.
Anyway,
Jenna. Anyways, okay.
Gemma is the mom in
Stop from
Sons of
Okay,
Anarchy,
we're done.
and I hate her.
Oh, she's the
So
worst.
moving on.
All right, so Captain Marvel. If you're watching it from the perspective of other flat superhero movies, which most of them are, the green guy is the bad guy, but he ends up being the good guy,
Right.
and this plays to our
Do
sympathies.
we know he's the good guy?
He's the shut up.
No, but seriously, like that twist is so quick that she just believes him so
No, it is
fast.
quick, and I agree. I
I'm like,
agree.
all he does is tell you something,
Does he
and you
hate Captain
suddenly
Marvel more than he hates Episode 8 of Star Wars?
not even close. Not even
I know,
close.
I know.
I can move on and never talk about Captain Marvel again. I will die on The Last Jedi being a sucky movie
So, continuing my point.
until I talk with my friend who loves the movie. Then we'll
Yeah.
see.
Oh, you should film that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So, I like that, the villain thing. We've talked about
I'm
that.
out of
We
beer.
beat that dead horse.
Dang it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I'm getting so tipsy. Anyway,
This is the first real whiskey
I'm gonna
review.
walk home tonight.
You might have to.
Uber.
The other thing I liked about it, I liked that it was new. It was introducing, which they should do for the introduction to Phase 4. It was new characters, it was new villains, it was new people groups from faraway planets. And if they could have played it off a little bit better, it would have been a new struggle that was potentially more important than Thanos. Because otherwise, so what the narrative says to me on a 2,000 feet in the air, 20,000 feet in the air level is that for her to have this ping, this little thing that
Little pager.
Fury gives her,
Yeah.
and not be paged when Thanos comes until after he wins, says that whatever she's fighting
Right.
is equally, if not more important, at least in their eyes at the time, with the knowledge they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put that on the level of Doctor Strange, right? Dormammu was more important than Thanos, but we don't have that framework because the rest of the movies don't have an understanding of him,
sure.
right? So I liked that it expands this whole big universe in that way.
I will guarantee you that what she was doing before was not that important. They're gonna make it seem like it might have been big. They wrote themselves into a corner
Yeah, and that
and
was
didn't
tough.
know how to get out of it. And they're
And that
like,
was tough.
"Oh crap, she's gone until Thanos now." But all the other world-ending events weren't that important to Fury. Like, that doesn't work for me. Like, she should have said, "I'm gonna be gone." Like, they should have written it better. I'm not a great writer, but there are people that are working for Marvel that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Figure it out. There's too many plot problems in the world of Marvel.
Well, so here's
With her being,
she's the just in general.
the only Avenger that comes before her is Captain America. That's it. Captain America, the
They
first
did right
Avenger,
back in time.
and then her, Captain
Oh,
Marvel. Captain
well,
Marvel's if you watch them all in
Okay, but you know what?
chronological,
That's a good point, though.
if you watch them all in chronological order, it goes Captain America, first Avenger, Captain Marvel.
So the new Hammer theory, like Star Wars Hammer theory, like you should watch 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3. Have you ever heard that?
What?
So you watch episodes 1 and 2 and get all the prologue context, and then you watch
4, 5, 6.
because you get to episode 2 and you realize, oh, Anakin's probably going to turn.
Right.
And then you watch 4, 5, 6 to see what happens when he does, and watch how it happens at the end. Or no, wait. I'm sorry. I mixed it up.
Confused.
I mixed it up. I'm sorry. Wow, I completely ruined that and then apologized for it. It's 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because you watch 4 or 5 and you're like, who is Darth Vader? Why is he Luke's father? You watch the whole story. You get it. You watch episode 6. So, really, the reason Captain Marvel isn't in any of the other movies is Fury's fault. We know in reality it's because they hadn't brought her into the movies.
Right. And that's another problem I have.
I know. So, okay, but
We've
here's the
been
writers.
wanting these.
Here's the writers doing what they're doing best at trying their best.
Sure.
And doing well, better than I could do, certainly.
I don't think they're trying their best, but sure.
Okay, but better than I could do or you could do, certainly. Better than anyone who hasn't done this for a long time.
Did you just assume how good I am at writing?
Yeah.
I guarantee you I can write a better story than Captain Marvel. In 10 years.
All right. Well,
In
10
years
years from now.
I will take you up on that bet.
All right, 10 years. Okay.
Honestly,
Anyways.
I could crap a better script than Captain Marvel. That was garbage. Like, it's traditional, like, oh, this event happens, and this happens, and she goes on her, oh, she wins all her fights. She never loses.
Yes. Okay, I
It's a
agree with
joke.
you on that. But so listen to this. If you're Fury, I'm gonna go meta narrative like I always
Fury,
do.
Nick Fury, right?
You're Nick
Okay.
Fury, and the only person you've seen that's a superhero is Captain America.
Right, and he was man-made.
He was man-made, and he fought a localized Earth enemy. And then you see Captain Marvel next, very next, and she's not local. She turned out to have been here by the will of an alien who was trying to win a cosmic battle. So you're Nick Fury. You go from localized, we are America and we're awesome. Look at how badass we are. And we beat the Nazis with this crap when they had that crap. To, oh my god, this alien pretended to be one of us because they didn't know Earth existed. She
Right.
hid here and came up with technology and crafted Captain Marvel to beat the big enemy. Nick Fury is he's an old but new, in our perspective, Tony Stark. Tony Stark sees Thanos in Avengers 1 and goes, there's a bigger enemy to focus on. Nick Fury sees the whole movie of Captain Marvel after Captain America and goes, there's something much bigger than this, and she's the only big gun I know. Well, then what's the next one? Iron Man. He's local. And then what comes after Iron Man? Captain America again. And then Thor, and then his stuff starts to broaden.
Blip in Thor where they make it seem. I think Nick Fury says something about him being from. Is it him? I think he's the one that says something about like we're now fighting in other worlds or something like that. And it's like, yeah, but if you knew Captain Marvel existed, Thor shouldn't be a surprise to you.
But at that point, he still wasn't, right? Because Thor's villain was still an Earth villain.
Yeah, but he.
Wasn't he? Well, who's Thor's villain? It's the first Thor movie.
It was like the big, giant metal thing.
So it's still
Thor is a god.
Yeah,
from another planet.
So the hero comes from another planet, just like
Sure,
it does
it's
in
just
Captain
no
Marvel.
villain has come from
so
another
no
planet.
villain has
Okay.
come, but he's expecting it to.
Right.
So
Why didn't he call
internally, it's
her
still
in
consistent.
for Avengers?
Well, by then he had Thor, who in his mind
You're
might
just
have been
making
just
excuses.
as good. Well, I am, but the writers also probably thought of this, like, oh, how can we write this to where it internally is consistent? And the key to that is Fury.
We're not going to get to any theories here. Briefly.
Let's just go to theories right now.
Okay, theories. Endgame. What do you think is going to happen? Your one theory.
So, well, okay, the only
Make
way
it quick.
The only way it can make sense to me is if somehow, because okay, so on Thanos' home planet, which is a mess, by the way, in Infinity War, they almost get the gauntlet from him with just Peter Quill, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Marvel, and
Marvel? What?
or I'm sorry,
Iron Man?
Iron Man.
I was like, she was not there,
She
dude.
didn't even exist. So you have Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Peter Quill.
Yeah.
And do you have
You have the
Nebula?
Guardians people there.
Yeah, you have the So, and Groot.
Yeah, you have Groot.
No, was Groot there? No, Groot wasn't there.
No, Groot was with Thor, but you
Yeah.
had Drax or Drax. or
Drax.
whatever.
Yeah. So you have like 5
And
people.
the mind girl.
And you get Oh yeah, and you get Nebula at some point.
No, that's not Nebula.
No, the Mind Girl I know, but Nebula doesn't Nebula show up to that?
Mantis or something.
Yeah,
Is it
Mantis, yeah.
her name? Yeah, Nebula's there too.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't really see her.
Okay, but
she's
at
there,
The end. She's
yes.
at the end. So you have Mantis, Mind, whatever her name is, Draxus, Peter Quill, most of the Avengers cast, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, and then Peter Parker. You have Spider-Man. So you have 6 characters, most of which Drax, Mantis, whatever. Peter
Yeah.
Quill barely, like he's a big part, but barely. And then you have Nebula, who cares until this movie, really, right? And then you have Tony Stark and Doctor Strange. And most people would just say Tony Stark. But really, I think Doctor Strange is probably way more BA than we think. So you have 2
well,
big
he has
players.
to be. I mean,
You have 2 big players.
He's the only one that knows how this ends.
yeah,
Actually.
yeah, exactly, and he's huge.
But he can't tell anyone because that'll affect what happens.
Oh, he's
But
the
it's
most-
also Marvel's way of like writing in as fail-safe, because any plot point,
Brilliantly.
any plot issue you have now, they can be like, well, Doctor Strange saw what was going to happen in the future, and he knew that wouldn't work.
Yeah, but that's a really good
And
writing
that's
move.
such a cop-out. I
Yeah,
hate
it
it
is.
so much. But anyway,
It's a CYA.
so what do you think's going to happen?
Cover your ass writing move. Yeah,
Exactly.
but it's good.
Exactly.
It still makes sense. So you have 2 big players
Mhm.
out of 6, maybe 5 people. Well, in the next movie, who do we have left? We have Tony Stark, because we know from the trailers he's
Right.
coming back.
Stark, Captain America,
Stark, Captain America,
Banner.
Banner. Oh my God,
Black
it's the
Widow.
Hulk, Black Widow, who it's Scarlett Johansson.
It's like all the
is
originals
awesome.
are kind of
It's
back.
all
yeah.
the people that you know, no matter what, can be trusted and don't mess up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if these 5, maybe 6 people that only had 2 main players almost got the gauntlet until Peter Quill was a jerk. I watched that movie and I was like, there's so many. So the whole point of that movie is there's so many moments where if there wasn't a character flaw, they would have won.
That
From Iron Man.
actually, I was gonna say that was another issue that bothered me, was that why didn't they just stop him? Like the way that if you watch it, the way they're struggling, it's not like they're all like so tied up that they can't let go and stop him. Like him punching Thanos is the worst thing that could possibly happen. So it would be better for them to let go of the gauntlet and stop him.
And then take it.
And they just
I
nobody
get
does
that.
it. They're just like, don't do it,
I get
Quill.
that.
Don't
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it, Quill.
yeah.
And
then
I'm
he
like, I don't
doesn't,
buy
he
that
does
Quill
it,
is
yeah.
that stupid either. It just that is a little concern I have. But
Yeah. So, well, anyway, so that's Quill's mess up. Stark has a mess up. I would argue almost everyone in that movie has a mess up that if it didn't happen. So Thanos capitalizes on every character flaw of every
Sure.
Avenger and Marvel character. I think that you get all of the key characters that we just mentioned, like Captain America, Stark, Black Widow, the Hulk, those 4. Well, if these 6 and only 2 of them are key players almost got the gauntlet, I think the other ones that we have left,
sure.
as mad as they are going to get the gauntlet, and then Tony Stark's going to reverse the whole thing. Although I don't like my theory because it's a cop-out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I beat you with the gauntlet, I beat you, and then reversed everything. I would love to see something different, but linearly, that's the only thing that on the surface makes sense.
Yeah.
But there has to be something that comes into play that we haven't considered, and that would be Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That would make that different.
I really, really hope she is not the reason they win. Only
The trailers
because
make it seem that way, though.
only because we've only seen her for one movie.
Yeah.
We don't care about her as a character. We haven't grown up with her for years and years. So if she's the one that ends up being the winning reason, we go, that's dumb. You know? I won't
But
want
get ready for it, though.
needs to be one of the characters that's gonna die, like Captain America or Iron
Yeah,
Man, because
I
I think
agree.
both of them are gonna die. I really do.
Hopefully.
Gone forever.
Well,
We're
they
never
have
gonna
to
see
die
her.
or retire.
because their contracts are up. Like, we know that something with those guys and Thor possibly.
Well, Captain America has to die because he was supposed to die in Civil War, right?
Right. Something like that. So one of those guys have to die. It needs to be one of them that ends.
Tony Stark can retire because
Thanos.
that's in character.
Sure. But Captain America needs to die.
Well, yeah.
And he's my favorite Avenger. Like, I love the character of Captain America, and so I don't want him to die. But if he does, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be the best way for him to go. So I think my theory is that Ant-Man actually plays a huge role in this. And no, he's not going to go up Thanos' butt. I think he just, because the quantum realm.
I would love if they had a scene where he tried that and they put that in the
doesn't
movie
work.
because of.
Thanos is like, what's that?
So imagine this. Imagine if, as fan service, they went and reshot a scene where Ant-Man quantumly navigates up Thanos' butt crack, and then Thanos like farts him out. What?
Oh my gosh. I know our studio time is up.
Our studio time's up.
We're about to end here. But I think Ant-Man is going to be the most important. Well, I think
Really?
I misspoke. I think Iron Man is going to be the most important character.
He always has been.
Him and Captain America are going to be super important, but I think Ant-Man is going to play a much bigger role than people think.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be in the next phase of Avengers and a major player in that, and I think he's going to kind of set it up. So
Cool.
that's my thought. Got any other last words before we end this super long episode?
All I ask, and it's already made, so it doesn't matter, but all I ask is that they don't take the cheap route.
I know. And I don't think they will. The Russo
I don't
brothers
think they will
do that.
because they didn't do it with Infinity War.
Exactly.
And that's why that movie was so good to me. Every rewatch it gets better because they didn't take the cheap route. They developed the villain.
Yeah.
And so here's what I want. Here's my wish. That when Thanos is staring defeat in the face, he accepts it and respects it. Because that's in character for him.
Yeah.
He respects Tony Stark. He respects their desire to stop him because he gets it.
Yeah.
They don't understand him because they know it's inherently evil on a cosmic level, even if you're God Almighty. But he's twisted in the sense where he thinks what he's doing is right.
Right.
And he respects that in their eyes what they're doing is right. So all I ask is that when Thanos is defeated, he doesn't fight it. He accepts it and goes, I've been bested. And he respects it.
That'd be awesome.
I think it'd be so powerful. And it would make us go, man, he was the worst villain we ever had. But also, I'm most tempted to be on his side.
Yeah.
And that should make us question ourselves.
Sure.
It'd be more powerful. And that's all I want.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for watching this whiskey review of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's been a long one, but I think it's been good. And I'm going to find a way home tonight. All right. Later.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.